All right, it's Friday night, and there is certainly a lot to talk about here in the world of wrestling, WWE, AEW, and especially after what we just saw here on SmackDown. We have some new champions. We've got a Saturday night's main event, a familiar face, and some different things to go into here coming up on the first ever Netflix on Raw coming up January 6th. And I'm joined here with two guys who know a thing or two about the world of wrestling. First, he is back. He is the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. He is the Baltimore Kid, Mr. TBK. And I'm also joined here by the man who dabbled very briefly in the wrestling world, trained by a heart, but now he certainly trains people to hear him not only here Friday nights, but also on the Hockey Fan Chat, which you hear kind of bi-monthly. That is Mr. Randy Dillon. And fellas, happy Friday, and how we doing tonight?
Tom, doing good. Happy to be back. TBK, good to see you, friend.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right, so good for the pageantries, but so SmackDown reactions tonight. I guess we'll start off and how it all unfolded and how it ended. And what did you guys SmackDown?
I thought SmackDown was okay. I had a feeling there was going to be a decline after building up to the War Games. No Roman, definitely with all the injury. It wasn't horrible, but I definitely think it could have been better. But they're definitely, I like the build up to Saturday main event with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. Definitely that segment in the car with the interview with Michael Cole. I think 10 out of 10 there. And then I like the brawl at the end. I really thought Kevin Owens should have attacked Cody's ankle because it goes back to the Bash of Berlin match where Kevin couldn't pull the trigger, but he stomped on it, but he didn't really do much more damage. But definitely it's heated. This rivalry is going to go full head next Saturday at Saturday Night Main Event.
What about you, TBK? What did you think about that? What he just said?
Well, it wouldn't be me if I didn't, come back swinging with a much different opinion. Randy, you're much nicer than me, brother. I think this is the worst SmackDown I've ever seen. It was horrible. And you know what? There were some parts that were so bland, that were so bad. To coin a phrase, you could hear a mouse fart in church. The crowd was dead. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, like, you guys pay all this money, do something. like react, would you? And I feel like the crowd lets you know. The crowd lets you know the tone of the show. And I feel like, just like myself, at some parts they just weren't feeling it. I mean, for God's sake, the girl from Legado del Fantasma or whatever mouthful it is, when she came out, there was nothing.
Electra Lopez, yeah.
But that would make sense, TBK, because she's barely on television. The audience don't. I think hopefully the point of the women's intercontinental title will give these women more opportunity to kind of just sit in the background, where you have your big hitter like Nia, Bianca, Chelsea, Jade, and even Tiffany, and hopefully the women's intercontinental will give people like Electra Lopez more of an opportunity to be on television.
Well, let me ask you guys this question, because you got two sides of the coin here, right? Randy was kind of like the moderate. Then you had TBK, who was kind of like the firebrand here in terms of the overall show. If the bloodline was here, the OG bloodline, if Roman was here and Roman was in a couple of segments and you had the Usos, would you have felt differently? Or maybe this was kind of to be expected? You had Survivor Series, you had some red hot SmackDowns. Randy, you were there last week in Vancouver, and now it's basically they're coming back to earth, and then maybe next week is this, I guess, mini go-home show to Saturday night's main event. Maybe they pick it back up. So what do you guys think on that?
I agree with you, Tom. I think if Roman made an appearance, or even Paul Heyman came out when Solo was speaking in his little promo, I think there definitely would have been a big pop. There would have been more of a hooray, but I think we all kind of knew we're not seeing Roman now till January.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, it's Roman Reigns. It's the OTC. You expect those kind of reactions when he comes out. I mean, look at the reaction that a manager, a Hall of Fame manager, but a manager nonetheless, Paul Heyman. Oh my God, the pop that he got was insane, incredible, and it's well deserved. Now, you made a point, and you're correct, Randy. Yeah, okay, she doesn't get much screen time. It makes sense. But then what about guys like the Motor City Machine Guns?
We had a title change tonight, which I alluded to. Did you guys see that?
We had a title change tonight, but these guys, they're not slouches. They are veterans. They are a name in this business. Where's their pop? Where's the excitement for a brand new team that is absolutely pumping life into what was a lackluster tag team division? Like,
yeah, I
on,
mean,
man.
I see what TBK is coming from in one sense on tonight's show, because there was moments where I was kind of like looking to do something else. There was other moments that was it was okay. I mean, I thought
it wasn't great. Like the show.
Well, I'll tell you what I did like. I liked the Naomi and Bianca segment. I thought that was good. I think that the tag match was good. I think to see where we'll go there with the future. But there were some other parts that were kind of to be desired. I mean, I don't know if it's because you had, like I said, you had maybe three or four straight red hot SmackDowns going into Survivor Series, and it's kind of like remember, Punk comes back, Heyman comes back, and then it's like they hit you with a 1-2 punch. It's like you go to a Kiss concert or a Motley Crue concert. You're getting War Machine, you're getting Shout at the Devil, and then it's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna go watch a Candlebox concert. I'm gonna watch I'm trying. He's a rock guy, so he'll get my reference. It's like you go into like, let's say a Bush concert. It's it's not the same. Yeah, you're gonna get a couple of, maybe a few hard rockers, but you're not getting that in your face, the drums, the setup, and that's kind of in a way what SmackDown was to me. You had a couple of moments. There was definitely a couple moments. I did like the Cody coming out. I did think the Owens Michael Cole segment was good. I almost kind of wanted to see Michael Cole get attacked a little bit to kind of build it up. No, because you're kind of expecting that now, but you were expecting something more. And I thought the main event, the way it ended, was good. I think I kind of agree. I think it was a TBK that said that maybe something more should have happened, or was it Randy? Maybe both of you guys said the same thing. But there were other things like, memorable.
I mean, to me tonight, two of the biggest reactions from the crowd. I mean, obviously, okay, Cody Rhodes notwithstanding, again, he's the face of the company. Those reactions are expected. For me tonight, the two biggest reactions that the crowd gave was number one with Bianca, KOD, and Piper, which is that cool or not? And the reason why I say that is we've seen her. We know how incredibly strong Bianca is. We know. We get it. We know how incredibly strong Jade is. That's why they put them together. It's been done. The other second biggest reaction, which wasn't even that big, was KO rolling up the window on Michael Cole.
I kind of did want to see something more to that, where Michael Cole stands there and he drives off. I don't know. I was expecting the way he left the venue that Kevin Owens was going to just snap and just, do at least something to Michael Cole, hit him in the face or push him. And he didn't. I don't know. I just was expecting more from that. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, I mean, I don't think.
I don't think there would have been any altercation with Cole, because I think they don't. Then what do you have to write?
But Cole? He talked about the relationship, and Owens was basically pointing out that he was a Cody guy. He was a Cody, basically saying.
I think there could have been something where Owen getting Michael Cole's face a little bit more. He grabbed him by the shirt and like threatened him. I think that could have done a little bit more, because we've seen, especially what he did with Randy Orton a few weeks ago, that snap where it would have been just like he grabbed Michael Cole and Michael Cole shits his pants on live television.
Well, I was going to say, like, this is the same guy who just used an outlawed move on Randy Orton. I don't think that Tom's wrong that it's outside of the realm of possibility that KO yokes him up by the shirt, grabs him in.
Yeah, I just think that if you're selling next Saturday, I think, and what Owens, the character, the way he's been, and we know the relationship between Cody and Cole, right? So obviously we know the whole thing with Randy and Cody. So wouldn't the move be to at least, a push or something? Okay, if you're not going to like totally, beat him up for whatever reasons, but just something to sell that. So then when KO comes out after Cody's match, that it builds up even more. What's he doing here? Why is he here? And then it just goes into, again, to use a Kiss reference, all hell is breaking loose. And then it goes into that just for, next week showing.
No, it definitely makes sense, Tom. Like we could have seen after like I said, it would have been better for at the end rather than the brawl, Kevin Owens stomping on Cody's ankle, beating him up, and then him yelling at Cole saying, "This your boy, your best friend," and all that, just to kind of bring it full circle. But we'll see. I'm excited for the match next Saturday. Definitely, it piqued my interest, but I think the Bloodline unfortunately overshadowed it the last few weeks, and I just feel like because they were, Tom, you're right. We were so excited, everything with a home run. It's so big that this week we're just like, bleh,
it's like I said, going back to Kiss. I'm not the biggest Kiss fan, but it's like I got Detroit Rock City, I got War Machine, I got all those big anthemic hits. And now it's like, okay, well, the show ended and I have to start back up. And, it's like I just got, I Was Made for Loving You and I got Beth. It's like that's just, unfortunately, that's in a way kind of like I understand to an extent TBK's point, because there was moments that I was like, I looked in, yeah.
I'm interested in one part of the show, though, the DIY turn. Because I don't know if that was changed or the original, because I think it may have been flipped because they were building a Ciampa change for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering.
I'm going to get to a change in a few minutes right after that, because there was a major change on Raw.
Oh, yeah.
Major change on Raw.
I was thinking because of the injury to Tonga Loa, that takes out one of your heel tag teams. You need a heel tag team to come in, because it seems like they're going to give Tonga a little bit of a push. DIY they kind of push that in, because I really thought either the Motor City Machine Guns were going to win or the Street Profits were somehow going to win with the help of Gargano Ciampa outside interference.
Do you guys like that the title changes now? I mean, the Machine Guns have had it for what, 2 months, right? 2 months they've been champions?
I think it's the right move in a couple of sense. To your point earlier, to TBK as well, I think the Machine Gun, they don't get that pop because I think a lot of wrestling fans know the Machine Gun, but for a WWE audience, they're not familiar. I would say probably about 40 to 35%. They're not familiar with the Motor City Machine Gun. They're not familiar outside of the TV.
I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that.
Getting them on TV more, getting them to lose match, getting them involved in kind of these feuds, it might build them up and get them going a little bit more. So I think we could see them win it down the road. They could have more feuds with the Street Profits. We could see them go to Raw for all we know. That might get more of attention with Raw on Netflix.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. I guess, Randy, your point would be you have to get the fans more invested. You have to get them caring about them more. Seeing them lose a couple, okay, I will give you that. Back to the Bloodline tonight, having Solo and the new Bloodline interject on a moment between LA Knight, Nakamura, and Andrade, it felt so out of place. Why them?
Who else?
I mean, okay. Hang on for a second now. Like,
all right. What do you got?
Nakamura, right? He's got this new badass persona. I love it. I love what they're doing with him right now. The dark, Shogun persona for him is amazing. He just won the belt. Let him have a little moment. You had another champion who was on wasn't Gunther on the show, or am I crazy?
Yes, he was. Show, right? He had a segment with Aldis. Yes, he was there.
Okay,
he was there.
If you want to make the Bloodline out to be this powerful, dominant force who is pissed off about not being taken serious, I know that Gunther's a big deal right now, but have him go after a champion with more relevance, with more weight. Even if he were to get attacked, it doesn't hurt Gunther, but it sends a bigger statement than interrupting Nakamura.
I understand where you're coming from, TK, but the only problem is you attack Gunther, then, okay, does Gunther become a babyface all of a sudden? Do the what kind of happened there. I think.
Why not? Why not? They've been having him show a little bit more. What's the word?
Hesitation, I would say.
Yeah, like having him be a little bit more cowardly, like not so Iron Giant out there and steely about everything. Like, yeah, have him show a little bit of emotion. Who cares? He's still one of the best in the business right now. It's not going to hurt him at all.
I think the whole dynamic, you do that, it just screws so much up, because then it's like, okay, did that mean Solo get back pushed in the main event? That you have to make him world champion? What did that mean for Jacob Fatu? What did that mean for guys on Raw, like where you have feuded, the plan is going forward to have Gunther fight CM Punk and Seth Rollins, or all of a sudden Finn Balor, which
I definitely want to get to Raw in a few minutes, and I know there's some people here. I want to give them some shout outs, but if you're here right now, I put up TBK and Randy's Instagram pages. So if you're here, you'd like to follow them and keep in touch with them, Randy is on Instagram at Randy Dillon. You can check him out there. He's also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. And TBK, you can check him out here. That's his Instagram handle. So if you want to check him out, he also does some design work. He does some logo stuff. So if you want to give him a 5-star review, give him a follow on Instagram. So that's it's pretty much the same way. I don't know what else more I could say on that, but
you're good.
But I guess Nakamura segment with the Bloodline, Nakamura leaves. I was okay with that, but then I'm assuming that next week we're getting a tag match between the Bloodline and Solo's version and LA Knight and Andrade. Is that where we're going?
Next week or the week after, because they have to do the 2 women's final match to set up the match for Saturday Night Main Event. You're probably going to see something with Cody, and then going to be something else. So I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week. I'm thinking more the week after you're going to set up that match.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Was it something TBK guide?
I would like to see Andrade get a little bit more involved. I saw something recently where somebody said that he's come back and his matches have been why is the guy's name escaping me? The first round draft. Help me out, Randy. Thank you. 99% Carmelo Hayes, 1% promo interaction leading to Carmelo Hayes. He's a good talent, is my point. I would love to see him get more involved. And if you want to have somebody who can put on a good match with him, I would love to see him do something with maybe Chad Gable.
Well, you said something interesting, and I'll get to the chat in a minute. I see some different people here, but we're going to now see a transfer window, quote unquote, between the brands. Is that maybe going to liven or freshen things up? Because, you talk about tonight's show, and tonight's show was, what it was. It was just, not the most memorable show, understandably so not every show is going to be, a 5-star review, but with a transfer window, will that elevate these shows or elevate maybe different wrestlers? Like we saw Chad Gable on tonight wrestling a main event. We talked about during the show Chad Gable, not getting a singles championship. And we showed that he could hang in there in a main event. So what does a transfer window do, you think? Will that elevate these shows where you get less of these kind of clunkers?
I think so. I think especially if the rumor that they want to make Raw and SmackDown both 3 hours coming to the new year, I think it does elevate, because then, especially going to WrestleMania season as well, you're going to get the best of the best and get the right people with the right mix.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Say something on that, TBK? Got it.
Yeah, no, I was it's time for it. We're almost towards the end of the year. Fresh is never bad. So what do you have to lose? There's guys like Chad, like Jacob, man. Oh my gosh. Jacob is probably one of my absolute favorites right now. Dude is clean. He is convincing. The I love you solo is a little weird. We'll get past that. But I love Jacob Fatu, man. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jacob is everything that Solo tried to be. Please don't miss your opportunity with this guy, man.
Well, so far, I think that they're certainly using him to the best of his ability. I think that there's no question about that. I got a bunch of people here in the chat. The chat wants to speak, so let me get to some of the chat here. Zilla's in the house as always. Zilla is here. She would like to say hello to TBK. Welcome back. Yes, and we'll have a regular show next week as well. We're here next week. We should be here throughout the rest of the year. So, what's left of the year. Brandon Hardcore Hobbs has been here most recently, and he would like to say hello. He agreed, I think, with TBK. He agreed with TBK's because he goes back and makes a couple of points. So he's going to follow up with that. And, yep, they're saying hello to each other. Thank you, Brandon. I was speaking with Brandon a couple of times recently on social media, but he says the tag division has been down for a long while now. I agree with TBK. So then maybe new tag champs can that freshen things up. I mean, we know on the Raw side, I mean, the Judgment Day really didn't defend those titles much at all up until recently, but maybe can a new and improved DII, maybe DIY can help a little bit with that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I will say that the double heel turn tonight did kind of catch me off guard. Not by much, but it did. I will be honest. Mm-hmm. I was really under the impression that they were going to give Tommaso a singles run, which for the longest time, I think he could have stood out as a pretty formidable heel on his own. Again, I hope that I don't think it'll hurt Motor City. I just hope that, they fill that spot, they keep them going. Now, if they do transfer between shows, a great match for them right now, since there's no title implications involved, would be the new heel New Day.
I'm going to get to that right after the chat, because that, I think, was the most interesting thing this week in WWE. Extremely fascinating, and I don't know if I saw exactly that coming. So that's a good one. I want to give a shout out to Barry, because I asked Barry if he wanted to say hello, but he didn't answer me, but he's got the link, so maybe he'll tune in, or maybe he's going to come on the stream. And Barry is out there. He just had a show a little while ago. He's trying to get to 50 subs. He's at 42 right now. He's the Hardcore Gamer Talk Show. Barry's doing a New Year's Eve stream for his 2-year anniversary on Twitch. He's actually closing in on 500 followers on Twitch, so he's doing very well on Twitch. And Barry and I go back way back in the time machine, back in the old days in beautiful Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. Although Sheepshead Bay is not quite as beautiful as it used to be, because it's got a lot of tall buildings, but I'll certainly leave that at a different time for my real estate developer friends. But we'll go with another comment here instead. Zilla, my honest opinion is that Cody Rhodes being the champion is boring to me.
It has its ups and downs. I think
for sure.
Cody run has had its ups and downs. With AJ style, I think it could have been done better, but it is what it was. His thing with Solo start was okay, but I think the problem was when you added Roman, then it kind of got sideways. I think since Bad Blood, I think Cody's run has really changed because of what Kevin Owens has done, because now it's like you have someone hunting for as they say, the champion, the hunted, and you have the hunter after, and Kevin Owens has obviously shown he's the hunter right now, trying to get Cody Rhodes in that championship.
Yeah, I think the difference, Zilla, between Cody and Roman is that it feels like they're feeding guys to Cody right now because he's the champion, to whereas everything that went down with Roman, it meant something. And because of the stature that Roman held for so long, you wanted to see Roman lose. You wanted that big magic moment, and it kept you invested in Roman for well past what you probably should have. I mean, he skyrocketed. I think the other thing that happened with Cody is Finish the Story was beat into people's heads too much. And now the story is over in a sense, to where the story between, him and Roman is over. The story between him getting the championship is over. Now what? With Roman, it felt like there was always a place to go. I feel like with Cody, we're like, okay, what are we doing now?
Okay, all right, that's a fair
Tom, I'm
point.
just going to add one thing to that. You look at Roman's first defense, it was Jey Uso, and how much that played a factor, Jey becoming his right-hand man, how it built up Roman going forward. Where you look at Cody, it feels like they just kind of fed him AJ Styles, where it could have been more of, okay, well, you come here, you finish your story. I've been here for so long, I've been here while you were doing something else, and I built this house. I felt the story they told between AJ was kind of pushed into it as someone they had to put rather than an actual story, which is between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes at this point.
All right, let me get to some more comments. I got a bunch of them here. And I got to give a shout out to somebody. Actually, my neighbor 2 doors down from me, who actually said he's been tuning in to my shows on YouTube the last couple of days when I didn't do anything wrestling at all. I had a college soccer coach. I had a black British boxer. I mean, there'll be probably somebody to come on here who's usually been here, but we'll let that announcement stay for a few minutes. But he actually said he's been listening to the shows. He subbed to my YouTube channel, and that is my neighbor, Don. Don, thank you very much for tuning in. I was caught off guard by that. He's like, you? I'm like, yes. Well, have I been a bad neighbor to you these 20 years? And he said, no, I really enjoy your shows. I didn't really realize you were that relevant. I was like, well, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for being a good neighbor and tuning in. Like State Farm, a good neighbor is there, but he is definitely there. Don, he's always outside. He's always just there, and he actually listens to the shows, or maybe he just hears my loud intro. No, he told me, he was like, wow, he's a sports fan. So thank you, Don, for tuning in, and thank you. I got 2 neighbors on my block list. I got my next door neighbor, Nino, who this guy always loses his keys, though. I mean, this guy, God help this guy. I mean, great guy. I mean, he subbed to my YouTube channel. He occasionally listens to me, but the poor guy always locks himself out at 4 o'clock in the morning. The other day, he's going to work to Brooklyn, and he locks himself out. And hopefully he doesn't lock himself out after listening to these comments, but hopefully he stays to tune in. Are you talking about American Made being traded to WWE SmackDown? We're talking about the transfer portal, I think, is what we were speaking about there. Yes, the transfer portal. Thank you, Zilla. Speaking of people who I must give a plug to, my good friend, Mr. Chase Wakefield, who's getting married and is having a wrestling super show while getting married at the same time. Oof. Kids, don't try this at home. And I definitely want to give him a plug. Mr. Wakefield is, for whatever reason, TBK and Randy, he is having a wrestling super show while he's getting married. And it's his other half that actually wants to do this more than he does. So there you go.
I thought you were gonna say, for whatever reason, he's getting married.
Well, he is getting married. I mean, congratulations on that. But he's having a wrestling super show, and he certainly is doing his best at it. And there's the page if you want to follow. Kyle Shelby's in the house. Boy, if I forgot to mention Kyle Shelby, I'll be in big doo-doo. Big up DIY, the new tag team champions, and I think I said it wrong before, so thank you for reminding me about that. Hi to the Universal Champions of Action Champion, the one and only Kyle Shelby, who's been champion there for 9 years. It'll span 4 presidential terms there. Brandon saying hi. Who else we got that's non-highs? I still love and like and appreciate the new bloodline. Good enough. This guy, I'm sure we'll see here soon, Anthony Steele, the real deal, but he's not going to come on here and talk about Mr. Brightside. He's actually going to talk about current events. We'll see how that goes. That would be like Kane running for office. Well, wait, actually that is. He's actually running for governor in Tennessee, it seems. I'll leave that at that because people have different views. I think Solo should be overlooked. Hear me out, guys. Let Jacob go under Roman. Have Fatu turn on Solo, which would give him something to climb later. What do you guys make of that comment?
I think it can happen, but I think he's going to turn if The Rock returns, because I think The Rock had more pull, especially with the rumors of payments turning on down the road, joining The Rock as well. I think those two going on their own or together with a line kind of under The Rock would be something interesting.
What do you think, TBK?
I agree to he should be overlooked 100%. Like I said, Jacob Fatu is what Solo wishes he could be, 100%. Having him go under Roman, no. Because of the dynamic that they've already kind of carved out here. I would love to see Roman versus Jacob. That's another match that I want to see. But absolutely, if you're gonna put if you're going to put Jacob with somebody, it's got to be somebody strong. It's got to be somebody with a big presence, because he is a big presence. I agree with Randy. Put him with The Rock.
Okay. Let me get to some more comments here. Let's see. Yeah, Anthony Steele is there in the chat. I think Brandon and Anthony, they definitely know each other. They definitely were in the locker room together. Ron Franklin would like to say hello. Sorry about the Packers there, Ron. I think that was just a tough one there for you. Also, making his legit surprise, I think he meant to say surprise, something even bigger than Roman's. Once it does happen, we should have Fatu as a WWE champion. Jacob, have Solo go over. It'll have the same flavor as Cody and Roman. What do you guys think? Interesting. Down the road, I don't know if it's happening now, but
The
too
one
long term, right?
Solo, though, I know TBK, like Solo was, we talked about Solo was just bad under Roman, but I think you had to someone kind of be the fall guy, because the Usos were at their point and Jimmy kind of took that a little bit later as well. But you look what Solo's done lately, and it's just been a night and day shift. I think Jacob Fatu, he had this Umaga presence where he's a dominant Samoan, but I think you still have to have a character with him. I think that was kind of the problem with Umaga after Estrada kind of left him, who just this tough guy, where Solo now has kind of created something like this. I don't know, like this.
I think also Umaga wasn't able to speak for himself. You lost the mouthpiece. It's sometimes it's tough if you don't have a mouthpiece in this.
I was going to say, like, I don't think that Solo was bad under Roman. In fact, when he first came in, he actually had that little bit of air of dominance. Like, I think when they gave him a mic and let him start cutting promos, is when they basically were like, okay, go be Roman 2.0, but not really though. like try to be Roman as best you can. And why, I don't know, because it's not working at all. But no, I don't think that Solo under Roman was bad. I think Solo by himself is horrible.
I like Solo personally. I like Solo on his own. That's my take.
Well,
Tom, I know you want to talk about Raw, but
it's okay to be wrong. No,
all right, well, let me get to some comments. I got to get to a bunch of them. Hello there. And continuing the bloodline story and giving Solo the tribal chief role and make sense. I think is what he meant to say. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. What else we got? We got more exchanging pleasantries. Resting the body before I go into the ROEW arena. That's for a different topic at a different time. I'll leave that at that. It'll depend on who and the new aspects they bring to the table, especially within the rest of the division. I think he's talking about tag team, I think. Liv Morgan's title reign is boring. Well, I mean, I think it's all infringing upon Rhea Ripley at this point, right? But he loves the Rhea and Liv storyline. Yes, hello to Don. I don't think Don's right now going to be here in the chat, especially after hearing that shout out, but he does listen periodically, which we appreciate that. Thank you, Don, for listening to the shows. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, all right, you know what? I do want to talk about it because I'm sure somebody will come in here and give their take, their controversial take. But boy, the New Day, that definitely caught me off guard. That was a rather controversial surprise, and they brought Big E out, and the 10-year anniversary, and I think that might have been, to me, the topic of wrestling this week. What'd you guys think of that?
I expected Xavier to turn. I did not expect Kofi to turn. I thought Kofi's always been this good guy, like fighting for, and then him just turning on Big E. It was just, I don't think anyone expected that. I think this is going to bring flavor in the New Day. Like, we're going to see a different New Day. Like, I think the big question is, can Kofi be a heel? I think this is the ultimate question for the New Day. Can Kofi be a bad guy? I think Xavier can have that bad guy aspect, but can Kofi do it?
That's a good question. I mean, sometimes it takes a while. Sting, I remember when he turned in WCW the first time, it was awkward. I mean, Goldberg briefly turned heel in WCW, and like 2 weeks later, he went back, and, Kofi, right, is the first time in what, 8 years, right? 9 years?
Yeah, the New Day was kind of like a little bit of a heel when they first joined, but I think with more, but I think Big E did a better. Big E and Xavier kind of carried that tone. He's on an island now. Like, he has to carry the weight with the New Day.
I want to ask somebody that actually would know a thing or two about controversial turns and stuff. That is Anthony. Still, Anthony, I'm not going to ask you about some other things that were a topic earlier this week, but I actually wanted to ask you from your perspective. The New Day. I think it was rather one of the more interesting things I've seen in wrestling in quite a while. And what was your perspective on it? And do you think this is something that can work when it comes to the dynamic now of Kofi and Xavier Woods and the whole Big E part of it?
I mean, the way I look at it is it was a smart choice instead of disbanding, because I think a lot of wrestling fans would have, it would have been a lot worse if the New Day disbanded, especially on the 10th year anniversary. I think the way that they're setting it up is, Woods saying, let the world know you're not medically cleared. You're never going to be medically cleared. So I feel like it's going to lead to a kind of like what they did at Battleground, I want to say 2016.
Well, that's what I said. I think it's 8 years or something like that since they've been healed, right?
When they did the Shield, every Shield member against each other.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to lead to. Is it's going to be Big E versus Kofi versus Xavier.
Well, Big E in the ring. You think he's coming back?
Okay, so I dig a little deeper into stuff like this. For the simple fact, I love Big E. I love Big E. I watched him in NXT when he debuted in 2012. Because we all need 5, if y'all know that reference. Yeah. But like Big E has been saying, like he wants to get back in the ring, and he's mentally prepared. It's just if the doctors say he's physically prepared to step back into the ring. And I think this was like a little, taste of what is to come with
We're
Big
talking
E.
about 3 years, right? It's been 3 years.
It's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's like Edge. Edge was out for 9, and when he came back, it was like he never missed a beat.
I think Edge was different though, because the injury that Big E has is, I think, a little bit slightly different. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. You asked me a legal term, Anthony, like you have in the past. I could tell you a definition on that, but doctor terms I can't help you with. But I don't know.
I agree with you, Anthony. I think they are definitely pushing. They're trying to push to see if it's possible. I know there've been talking. Can he be medically clear? Like they say he's making progress, but will he be in the ring? I think a way to see. But I definitely think the seeds are pushed there to see if he is medically clear. This will be a goal in the near future.
Exactly, and that's where I look at it as is like Big E will be one of the biggest returns, and I feel like what is going to happen is, because he said he's going to wait the remainder of 2024 to see how his body is and see how the doctors react. And what I imagine happening is him returning at the Rumble with both Kofi and Xavier in there, and Big E, eliminating both of them from the match, basically solidifying his dominance and be like, there's really no New Day without Big E, because if you look at it, during the New Day's run, Big E was the healthiest out of all of them. Woods kept getting injured, then Kofi would get injured, and it was back and forth.
Was Big E's last match against Roman, or did he have a match after that?
He had his last match brawling brutes with with Sheamus and Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland, and there was something going on there, and something was. I know it was a match on SmackDown where it was that incident when Ridge Holland threw him over that broke his neck.
So it was a tag team match. It was Big E and Xavier Woods versus Butch and Ridge Holland, and so they were doing a spot, which, no offense, Ridge Holland is notorious for doing this, where they do a belly-to-belly suplex on the outside, and he's broken multiple people's necks doing that, or injured someone doing that same move. He injured Johnny Gargano in NXT doing that exact same thing. And it just, when he, instead of flipping him over, he just dumped him straight on the top of his head. Big E, literally couldn't move. And see, watching that is like, this is the part of wrestling where people got to understand, it is real. Injuries do happen. And it's something as simple as a slip that can cause the most, terrifying injury that anyone's ever experienced. And I think with Big E, if he is able to make a recovery to come back to the ring and compete, like that is going to be one thing. Because if you look at it, Tyson Kidd had to have neck surgery to fix his broken, I think it was a vertebrae 3 or vertebrae 4. And I think Big E has a broken vertebrae 3. And like Tyson Kidd is never going to be able to compete. Like he trains with
I
Natalia.
think training, I mean, is different than
but like him, like a simple move took out Tyson Kidd. A simple move took out Big E for about 4 years.
Let me ask the three of you this question though. Okay, let's say though that Big E can't go out there and compete because it's obviously a totally jump ball, right? Who knows really? I guess he could throw out, maybe do one more match, but I don't know. Could, for you, all three of you guys, could Big E just come back as a manager type and find a tag team to compete against the New Day, or what?
They've talked about getting Big E in many different positions. I think there were reports saying they want to do commentary, and he said he can't because he can't hold his bladder. Like, they have talked about many different opportunities bringing Big E back on television. It just he's one of his in-ring ability is good. I think his personality fits as a wrestler. As a manager, I don't see him kind of doing that. Like,
yeah. Okay. What about for you, TBK? What do you think, TBK?
Okay. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
Big E is already medically cleared. And I'm going to tell you why. I think having him come out to the ring was planting the seed that is the reality. They kept him off TV while he was recovering. There was a report a while ago saying that he was up for a 6-month review. Now, whether or not that was 6 months ago, I don't remember, but I remember seeing the report.
It ends this month. That's what I was saying.
Bingo. Big E is already medically cleared. That is my take. Number 2, when it comes to the New Day, I wanted to see them break up. I can't stand the New Day. Never have been able to. I don't like them. But I'm going to tell you what, that double heel turn snapped me right out of my chair. I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. That saved everything about the New Day for me. Now, here's the thing. I think that the way that they're going to show that Big E is medically cleared is there's going to be more in-ring moments between all three of them. And here's how it's going to go down. They're going to keep pressing him. They're going to keep saying that awful, awful shit to him. One of them, whether it be Woods, Kof, is going to slap Big E, push Big E, put their hands on him. And then you get the reveal. Big E's going to hit one of them with a move, grab the mic, and go, by the way, I'm cleared. Boom. Mic drop. Big moment. Sets up the Royal Rumble. It's cinema at this point, and it's kind of being spelled out.
Somebody want to say a different point of perspective? I think, got it, Anthony. I think you.
I'm with TBK on this. It's like, so one, if you were to take the in-ring action out of the equation for Big E, could he be a manager? Yes. Everyone's seen Big E on the mic. Big E knows how to talk. He's not a guy that's just, has a physique that can do in-ring like stuff. On the mic, he can talk. He can pull a crowd's attention, whether he's babyface or a heel. But like TPK saying, he was already medically cleared. It was a 6-month basis. That's why I said he's going to give it to the end of December, because December's the last month of a 6-month basis. And his first match back will most likely be at Royal Rumble. And TBK, if you want me to take it farther, I see it being Kofi, Xavier, and Big E at Mania, being the biggest the downfall of the New Day is going to happen at Mania, and it's going to solidify like who was the guy. And
yeah,
the whole thing that they're trying to spin on this, well, they were attempting to, but no one really got behind it, is everyone wanted to see Xavier turn on Kofi, because Kofi did all this stuff. Kofi became WWE champion. He's been a multiple time Intercontinental champion, multiple time US, multiple time tag team champion with Big E and Xavier, and outside with Air Boom and R-Truth. His career has been solidified, but they wanted to push the narrative of Xavier Woods, has this luxurious career outside of WWE, then coming in to NXT, doing what he did, and then joining, the main roster. Everyone thought that was going to be the case, but putting Big E into the equation now is more of not what can Xavier do, it's what can the New Day do as a whole to prove a point that everything that they did for the past 10 years wasn't for nothing. They were one of the longest reigning tag team champions before the Usos reigned with the Bloodline. Multi-time tag team champion on multiple brands, faced some of the best.
The Dudleys, remember, they beat the Dudleys. Yeah. I mean, they
Usos. Only tag team to hold all 3 titles in WWE, including the NXT.
Like the New Day, whether people like them or not, are solidified as one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling history.
Sure.
Can't take that away. And I think bringing Big E back is a good.
But what if by some chance he's not cleared? Then what do we just?
I mean, I don't understand. They could have had him on the video screen for that. They didn't. They made a point to have him come down to the ring.
But they've done it with other.
Kyle Shelby agrees, but go ahead, Randy. He agrees.
I think they've done it before with other athletes, where even talent, where they, as a returning group, they bring them back because there's no physicality. And I agree with Tom. It's it's all going to depend on his neck, because what Anthony said with Tyson Kidd, he took a muscle buster. He was done. He was not supposed to come back. Remember Daniel Bryan? They said he was not supposed to be done, and 2 years, miraculously, he returned. Saraya as well. She was out of the ring, a less severe kind of neck injury.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold.
TBK's era.
Stone Cold. I think Stone Cold probably the biggest.
That's James Taylor's era, but that's a different show for a different time. But Stone Cold, you could say though, to the point to that, on a serious point, he did change his wrestling style drastically.
Yeah,
I mean, really, he was a puncher and brawler. Before, Stone Cold actually, was a fairly, versatile wrestler. But if you look at a lot of his matches after, if you're referring to SummerSlam '97, a lot of them were just, punch, kick. Go to the outside.
All right, so I'll play.
Sorry, TBK. One thing, I'm just
go ahead, buddy.
I'm going to say the cues are going to be on Raw if we really want to figure out how much reference they're going to make to him in the next upcoming few weeks, before the Netflix and before Rumble. If they're going to make reference, if they make some references, then the speculation definitely out there. But if there's very few references to I have to think he's not going to return.
Let me get to some comments, because I only got 15 more minutes on wrestling. So we're here with Randy Steele, who's always here, TBK, who's back, and Randy Dillon, who's back. But Zilla said the New Day segment made me sad and heartbroken, breaking and upset, angry at Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. That was a lot there, and I tried to get rolling. Brandon Hardcore Hobbs wanted to say sometimes the best faces end up being the most relatable heels. I think that's what he meant to say, which is a fair point. I mean, it's a interesting line. She said she loves Big E and feels sad for him. Got to say hello to Texas Red, Mr. Rocky himself, who's here tomorrow at 9:00. He'd like to say made it to the chat, liked the stream. He wanted to say hello. Also, Kyle, before he agreed with TBK, said if E is cleared, and I'm almost positive he agrees also because of the teasers they put in their promo with him mentioning Kurt and Stone Cold breaking the necks. It's going to be a badass story, no doubt. Also here, was Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods jealous of Big E?
I wouldn't put it.
They weren't jealous at him more than they were. They felt abandoned by him.
Well, he did leave them for 3 years. He did leave. I mean, he left for a long period of time. I mean, I think if that's the storyline that they're based on, I think that's,
that's the whole basis. The whole basis.
I will play devil's advocate. Okay. Sure. There's absolutely a chance that he isn't cleared, but like I said, the lengths to which they're going, I've said it before. I'll say it again. People are like, "Oh, he says this all the time." And I'm gonna keep saying it because it's the damn true. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. When WWE wants to make a point, they're not subtle about it. You gotta just pay attention. That's all you gotta do.
And that's the thing with the Big E thing is, they wanted to make it obvious without making it too obvious. Is, with the references of Kurt Angle and Stone Cold, every true wrestling fan that has watched throughout the years, knows that Kurt Angle, what is the biggest thing talked about Kurt Angle? He won a gold medal with a broken.
I want to ask you, Anthony, I want to ask you a completely different question. This is something that you're going to probably be surprised that I'm going to ask you. Anthony, I'm not going to ask you about Mr. Brightside. I'm not going to ask you about Omen Black and Soldier GP.
You're good.
What I'm actually going to ask you is let's say Big E is cleared. Let's just say, for the argument's sake, that he is cleared out there. And you are wrestling Big E. Are you wrestling him differently than how you normally wrestle? And I'm talking about Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So if you're in the ring as his opponent, you have a certain style as a wrestler. Are you adjusting his style to try to help him because he hasn't been out there in the ring, let alone the injury he's still overcoming?
Okay, so you want me to put it as like a wrestler's aspect?
Not as you shooting like you normally
do. I know. Like as a wrestler's aspect. The way I look at it is when stuff like this happens, they always practice beforehand to make sure that they can still do what they normally have done. And you could tell if they had to change it up when you watch them like compete for the first like one or two times when they first get back, because there's always tells. There's tells inside that ring that once you step in there, you can look at your opponent, and when you notice certain things, you can tell like this had to change because of this. And I feel like the basis with this is these three guys have traveled so much together that they know each other like the back of their hand. So I feel like if Big E was to adjust himself, the New Day would catch on really, really quickly for the simple fact that it's not the same Big E that they were used to. But at the same time, I feel like they're still going to do the same things that they would normally do. Like, I don't see Kofi and Xavier, changing up because of everything that's transpired. I just think that they're not going to do as much.
When Owens wrestled Stone Cold, right? I mean, didn't Owens wrestle a different type of match, or he phrased how he does things differently?
Yeah.
It just depends on the circumstance.
When Shawn came back against Triple H the first time, wasn't that match phrased differently?
I mean, but it's also, you got to look at the storytelling aspect. What can you change to make it look different than what you're used to? That's how, me, when I return to a place, or I,
return to a few places a few times.
Like I look at it as, what can I do different than the time before? Because the whole point is standing out. They want that
right, but this isn't. But this is an injury, though. This is an injury. This is different.
If I'd have to say, like, in any match, any circumstance, safety is paramount. Now that's heightened now because of the injury. So maybe it's not so much that Kof and Xavier would have to adapt to the situation, but maybe you see a different Big E.
That's what I was saying.
He's got to protect the injury. He's got to protect the neck. Obviously, you don't want anything catastrophic happening, and that's heightened now because of the injury.
You want to say something, Randy? Right after TV?
Go ahead, Randy. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, TV. Yeah. So the one thing I would add, I remember getting trained by Bruce Hart was you're only as good in the trust you have with your partner. And I think if he is returning, I think the trust he had with the New Day definitely is going to affect, because you still got to take care of your opponent. Yep. And even with E's injury, they're going to have to do ways where the bumps aren't, especially around the neck, the impact he takes around the neck, to make sure things are done right. And to Anthony's point as well, are they going to change things? Possibly. But I think there is a trust factor among those three guys. If you threw E against anyone, let's say, I definitely don't see a trust. But we saw with Ed, they threw him against Randy Orton, a guy they honestly trust, and they know that he will support him and help him. I think. And
then conversely, Edge in AEW, we see what happens there. I mean,
exactly.
So I
and even with
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, his return match at WrestleMania in 34 when he faced Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon. Like Sami and Kevin knew they trusted Daniel Bryan to make sure it would be okay. So
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good
so
point.
I think as long as the trust is there, that they feel confident with all three working together, they're going to have to do some adapting.
I have to give a shout out because he's up at 4:00 in the morning and he's up for, I don't know why, but it's the Tribal Cheese and actually the Tribal Cheese is commented about you in the past, Anthony. He says he enjoys when you're on Sportswire. He actually he's one of the wrestlers overseas that does enjoy. Actually, he's enjoying. TBK interviewed the Tribal Cheese about 5 months ago, about 5 or 6 months ago. So the Tribal Cheese is enjoying it. He enjoys Randy as well, and he gives me his opinions. And speaking of people that I like to give a big shout out to, hope he's doing well. And my good friend, Mr. Joe Dell, who's waiting for his cousin to come on here, which will be here in about 10 or 15 minutes. And from the town of beautiful Lodi, New Jersey. And also, Joe, I saw you post there about Randy Rhodes. Obviously, God bless Randy Rhodes out there. But Brian Daniels had a great career with the injury withstanding. Thank you for that. Brandon Hardcore Hobbs, who I believe you shared a locker room with Amen Steel.
Yes, sir.
That is why I would put him with those guys. Has been with us for 10 years. All right,
exactly.
There's a good line.
So,
go ahead. What's the man?
So the way I look at it is this, like I said, they did stuff for 10 years. Whether Big E was with them for the entire, 10-year, they traveled. They know each other. They've worked. Mm-hmm. They've collaborated with each other, and I think being his first rivalry back is with the New Day will set up for we get to see what's going on with Big E. But I have a question for y'all is when Big E returns, what Big E do you want? Do you want New Day Big E or do you want like 2012 to 2014 Big E?
It has to be New Day Big E. Like the 2012, 2014 Big E, I just felt like there was something wrong. Like I want to see the Big E that was on SmackDown, the New Day Big E on his own when he left the New Day, drafted in 2010. That Big E I want to see.
You mean on Raw, right?
No, on SmackDown when he was on kind of like on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, like he started off on SmackDown, then won the briefcase to Raw. Like that's the Big E we need to see.
What about you, TBK?
I just want to see him back. Like I just want to see him back, dude. I hope. First of all, okay, I made a very big claim, so I hope I'm right. That's number one. Like I hope he is cleared. But like I said, number two is, the New Day now has been effectively killed off. The happy-go-lucky, all that happy horse shit is done now. So to say, do I want the New Day Big E back? No, I just want Big E back. I just want him back.
The way I look at it,
I gotta give a plug real quick because my friend Ernest Dove, who's with us on the station, who has like 8,000 followers on X, just shared our show here on the X, which we have like a whole bunch of new people tuned in there. So I want to give Ernest a plug because Ernest is almost at 500 subscribers. So if you're out there, do me a favor, subscribe to Ernest. Ernest is back on Sportswire in a couple of weeks. Ernest and I actually did a whole bunch of interviews years back where we interviewed a whole bunch of minor league and a few Major League Baseball players. We interviewed Art Shamsky, won the 1969 World Series with the Mets. We had Steven Nagosic, who had like 15 stints with the Mets, and we did about maybe 8 or 9 interviews over the years, and he was nice enough to share our show here on X, so give Ernest a follow. He's only 28 subscribers away from 500, so thank you, Ernest, for that. And New Day without it is like, without Big E is like Rush without Neil Peart. Well, Rush, there is no Rush. I think we're still getting New Day at the moment, but also, I think Joe Dell said the same thing. Actually, well, there you go. So Brandon Hobbs like that line. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, jump in.
So there's a couple things that y'all went over that I kind of want to put my input on just a tad bit before we move on.
You think?
Hey, look, I'm very opinionated. Y'all should know this.
I didn't know. I just didn't know you were opinionated.
Well, you're about to learn, TBK. You're about to learn real quick.
Word, buddy, do you think?
No, so first thing I want to do is I want to touch on the bloodline. I want to touch on this whole bloodline story. The way I see it going is Roman is going to wind up getting the Ulafala back one way or another. And I feel they're going to put a twist on it with the CM Punk is owed a favor by Paul Heyman. That's going to be like the chip on the shoulder of Roman Reigns. And I feel like it's all going to lead towards Roman Rock Mania finally, to where Roman can say he's the tribal chief again. He is the only tribal chief, which leads to The Rock saying you can't be the tribal chief without beating me. You know, before you, there was The Rock. Before Roman, there was Rock or Rocky Maivia, right. And the only way that there can be a Roman Reigns is Roman has to beat him. And I feel like what TBK said, push Jacob. Like, stop using him as like a secondary to Solo. He is way better than Solo. On the like, if you watch him in MLW on the mic, he's fire.
Well, you know, mic. Anthony Tarzan Duran told us that 4 months ago when he was on Sportswire.
Like, and that's the thing.
He was like, half baked though. Actually, he was fully baked when Tarzan said that, but you know, he did let us know that it was Tarzan. Tarzan Duran was the reason Jacob Fatu made it to WWE.
And the way I look at it is, you know, they have for the new bloodline, they wanted to bring as many people in as they can to surround Solo, to make Solo, as TBK said, look as close to Roman as they possibly could. And no offense, Solo, there's no recollection of there being any part of Roman in Solo Sikoa, you know, because you got to think back to NXT Solo Sikoa. Like, Solo was his own dude. He was a part of the Samoan dynasty, but at the same time, he wasn't like that.
He
typical...
didn't overlap with the Roman peak of the bloodline. He didn't overlap.
And so bringing Solo in, you know, you made him the secondary to Roman when the whole falling out, leading up to the falling out of Jay and Jimmy leaving and then Jimmy going back with Roman. You know, Solo was a secondary, and to push him as a main guy, no offense, he's not ready to be the guy. I'm sorry. Roman was in WWE for well over a decade before Roman really got the push that everyone said.
Roman was like, pretty much, you know, they tried.
They tried to see the thing with WWE back then, and I 100% blame it on Vince. Is Vince wanted to shove? I'm controversial. I'll say the name. Vince McMahon wanted to push Roman down everyone's throats instead of letting people, you know, go at it themselves and see what he was truly made of. So they made him a try hard, and I think the COVID happening, him leaving, not being at WrestleMania to fight Goldberg for the Universal Championship, which then led to Braun Strowman beating Goldberg, having a couple decent matches with Bray Wyatt leading up to Roman coming back at SummerSlam. You know, it gave him that build up to where Roman can fully, you know, show.
And I think being not in a live audience gave him the opportunity to maybe overcome that live audience that gave those, let's say, reactions that they didn't want Roman Reigns. And there was obviously a lot of apathy toward Roman beating The Undertaker as well. And I think those are things go ahead.
The other thing that I saw that I think y'all probably would have saw too is with that time, it gave him time to work on his mic skills. Like, if you look pre SummerSlam 2020, like, Roman sucked on the mic. You know, literally he had, if y'all remember, he had that promo battle with John Cena where John Cena looked at him and was like, you know, basically it took you so many years to cut a half decent promo. Now I'm about to cut you back down to size. And literally went ham on Roman to where it literally pissed off Roman to where he then said what he said, you know, and then that time frame where he was gone, he got to work with the likes of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, one of the best talkers WWE's ever seen. That's why this dude can market anybody. He pushed Jack Swagger and Cesaro just a tad bit more than what they were. He pushed the CM Punk storyline. Brock Lesnar is notorious for Paul Heyman and then pushing Roman Reigns. That was one of the biggest deals that they aligned with the War Games this year.
Right.
You had the ex Paul Heyman guy with the current Paul Heyman guy and see how they can collide. You're taking the old generation, mixing it with the new. And that's the whole thing with the Roman storyline that I love. It is giving him his time to finally shine.
I gotta get to some comments because I do gotta get to the regular guys here in a couple of weeks, but I gotta give a couple of shout outs. First of all, Barry has arrived. Barry, let's give Barry a sub on YouTube. He's trying to get to 50 subs by New Year's Eve. He's at 42 right now. Hardcore Gamer Talk Show. He's arrived. I know Barry would certainly love to give his opinion on Roman Reigns, but he does not know enough about Roman Reigns. If I asked him about David Starobin and Senator Marty Golden, he would do that, but then nobody would listen to us. So it'd just be me and Barry talking, and nobody would be like, what the hell are we talking about? So that's why Barry, though, is right now watching, and Barry wants to kill me for just saying those names again, because I'm going to say those names till the day I died, because they're two of my former employers. But yes, we are having a great night, and Barry's having a great night. She wants to see Zilla, the Big E of 2012 to 2014. Also, I think, Anthony, you know this person, Anthony? You think you know her, Anthony, right? You think you do?
What's good?
Well, yep, you can say what's good for sure. Hey there. We'll bring the regular guys here in a few minutes. On a lighter subject, wrestling-wise, I want to make everybody laugh, or maybe not laugh. Jesse the Body Ventura, him doing commentary next Saturday. I mean, what's this going to be like? I mean, this would be like Rob Maraska calling a wrestling show. I mean, no, seriously, because Jesse, I know he was there tonight at SmackDown, but there's no way that Jesse Ventura could know anybody that's a part of today's show. So what's this dynamic going to be like? A guy that, again, hated on WWE up until recently is now going to be on the call. And, I mean, what can we expect with that on a lighter note?
It's going to be interesting. He did an interview, I think, a month or two ago with Chris Van Vliet, and even just him talking,
saw that.
It's like, it's so different. Like, definitely the age has played a factor. Like, wrestling has changed so much.
I went back and watched. You remember he did the one for the Battle Royal? It was a tag match with Vince McMahon?
Yeah, in 2009. It just... like I think
it didn't flow right. It didn't flow.
He's gonna make some comments, I think, but he's not gonna be like commenting like Cole and Graves. Like,
did y'all see?
I don't care.
Like, if you want to talk about,
no. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I cool. We'll see what happens. That's really all I can say.
The way I look at it is the one that I'm hype about that is back full time that Triple H has.
Pat McAfee, right?
Pat McAfee. I love Pat McAfee.
Pat's coming
back.
McAfee.
Pat on the mic, dude. Like, people don't give him enough credit. And as an in-ring competitor, like, people don't give him enough credit. Like, you're looking at a former kicker for the Indianapolis Colts that transferred into the art of professional wrestling, that literally like took it by storm. And see, that's the number one thing that I tell a lot of people is a lot of people don't watch NXT. And, I don't know if it's because I'm younger and I want to see these young guys or what it is, but like NXT is like basically from the ground up. Like, you get to see everyone that comes through the doors of WWE and bust their ass to make it on the main roster. Because without NXT, we wouldn't have saw Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Ricochet. A lot of people, have came from NXT. And Pat McAfee, I think it was 2019 or 2020 when Pat McAfee built that team to go inside War Games against the Undisputed Era.
It was 2020. His match with Adam Cole definitely played back. But I just want to say, sorry, Anthony, interrupt. I just want to say, Joe Burrow, who's actually calling with Wade Barrett, they're actually doing a good job. Like, it's a shame he's getting kicked off, but they've actually done a good job. But Pat McAfee, you're right.
I think it's also because probably it's a lot for Joe to do that. Yeah. Because he does boxing, he does football already, and that's a lot. I mean, listen, I can tell you, I do this every day, and I do other things, and it's a lot. Trust me, it's it's the grace of God that he does as well as he does, because it's a lot of work.
TBK, I'm gonna do a joke pick, but I got Pat McAfee winning the 2025 Royal Rumble. Book it. Book it.
I mean,
Well-
honestly, I think that Pat is coming back now because they were forced to bring back Drew because of the Bronson Reed injury. And the reason why I say that is I'm pretty sure that they're going to be moving Wade off because there was talks about him making an in-ring comeback and working with Drew.
I'd be down for that.
Wade said he's not he's gone on record that he has no interest coming in the ring. Like I know a lot of people want to see him back, but I think I think he's gonna go to SmackDown back with commentating with Graves, but in the ring, I just don't see him.
And Barrett's got to be what 40s now, right?
And he does that.
It doesn't matter. Sting was in the 60s and still wrestling.
Yeah, but that's
Sting,
Tony
though,
Khan
but Sting is like once in a lifetime. You're talking like you're you're at that level. You're gonna keep coming back. Wade Barrett had a good career, but he wasn't at that level, and he missed a lot of time.
Yeah,
I just don't.
In the last
see
4
that.
years on commentary, he's built himself, I think, to be a top.
I mean, Sting's, like I said, iconic. I mean, he's gonna be 80, and somebody's gonna want Sting to be out there in the ring. Just
Tony
he's
Khan.
one of those like 5 or 10 guys. You know,
I definitely I don't think it would be if he does work a program, it's not going to be anything lengthy, but I'm sure he would be good for a couple. You know,
I'm sure that he could pull it off. I just think at this point, I don't know. I mean, the Big E point I could buy. He's a little younger than Wade Barrett. Now is the time to pull the trigger. If he doesn't come back, fine. But I think Barrett's a little older. He's missed time. I don't think when he left, he was at a top level. I don't look at him as like a top level guy. I mean, I know commentary helps him get his name back out there, but I just don't.
A dude I would love to see to come off the commentary table and get back in the ring because he didn't really have a long run in WWE. Corey Graves. Like, if y'all watch Corey Graves in NXT, Corey Graves was
I think he wants to make babies with Carmella. I
think look, he can make babies with Carmella all he wants, but like
I think that he's happy making babies with Carmella. I think that he's not coming.
I just slated him in as well to take over Michael Cole at the top announcer when Cole leaves.
I think that's fascinating. And I will get the regular guys. If you're waiting, you can come on the stream. But I will say this on Corey Graves. It's an interesting name, but he never really had a run on the main roster. Never had a run here in the main roster. Adam Pearce was another one. Never had a run here in the main roster.
I foresee seeing Adam Pearce versus Nick Aldis. I foresee
that would be something.
That would be great.
I foresee that because
now if it was a Ring of Honor, that would be one of the greatest matches ever told in Ring of Honor history, right? But in WWE, it'd be like who?
But see,
don't tell that to Tony Khan. He'll book it.
I know y'all are about.
I mean, we're getting Jericho and Cardona. That's just
Hey, look, I don't care. Little known fact, I'm in talks with Cardona, so I'm gonna keep y'all posted on that one.
Well,
if it happens,
I gotta get to comments from the chat. Zilla thinks that the real tribal chief is The Rock and Solo Sikoa. Both of them. Okay. Joe Dell wants to say that Rob Maraska was Navy.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan, Zilla.
Rob Maraska was not a Navy SEAL. I know Rob Maraska. I live down the block from him. With all due respect, Rob Maraska ain't no Navy SEAL. Rob Maraska, it's not bad. He's not a Navy SEAL. I know Rob Maraska. He does not look like Navy SEAL. There's a lot. Don you'd say maybe he would have had a run in. He might have had some run-ins, but he definitely was had a run-in or two in the Navy. Yep. Hello to Woo Riders from Northeast Florida. I always love when he says Northeast Florida. Corey Graves was redundant on the mic. I think Corey Graves adds something though. I always think he added more of a youthful flavor. I thought he added the wrestler's perspective. So I thought that was something he did add, and I think he was a breath of fresh air compared to like a Jerry Lawler as an example. So I mean, I think there's some good points to Corey Graves. I think I like Wade Barrett a lot. I just, in terms of in ring, should everybody come back in the ring? I mean, that's just what I'm getting at tonight.
No, but because of the history there, that's why I brought it up. And like I said, I know there was talks about it possibly happening. So I mean, like I said, if he does, and if it did happen, I can absolutely believe it would not be lengthy. But for story purposes, for the history that those two have, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it.
And we're here with Rob Maraska. We'll see if Chris and Justin come on. Well, before I do anything, Rob, unfortunately, I have to let the audience know that you were not a Navy SEAL alongside Jesse DeBody.
A Navy SEAL.
Well, with all due, that's what your cousin Joe Dell said. But with all due respect, Rob, and I know you a long time. Rob, I know you for over 15 years. You don't exactly look like a Navy SEAL type. With all due respect, you don't look like a Navy SEAL type. So I'm sorry to.
I don't know what my cousin was smoking, but
well, he smokes a lot of things, but I'm sure that those are things I'm not going to talk about on the air because he's here with us in the chat. But I got you two guys here, so I got to go to baseball. Actually, a bunch of things I got to get to, but. I'm going to go let the wrestling guys have some closing thoughts. Let me go to Randy first. Randy, I'm going to pass the baton to you. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? I'm going to put up your Instagram handle and anything else you want to say here. And
I'm going to hit this quick.
By the way, I got almost 250 people watching me right now. 250.
That's great. I'm going to hit you quick and fast. Got a lot to say. First off, with AEW last week, the comment from, I think, GZ from GCW about Tony Khan. Like there's some fire.
GCW was here in New Jersey at the American Dream Mall.
There's some fire.
There's
some fire right there because he pulled everyone from the show, and then all of a sudden Cardona, who's a big part of GCW, is now showing up in Ring of Honor fighting. There's some bitterness there. The comments from Ricky Stark, like I think Tony Khan, he's being a little bit petty at this point, and then in AEW just talking on like. It's so strange. Like they have some good matches, but the story just kind of flat. And someone actually said this on X, and I think this is getting to the point where Tony Khan is booking AEW like a fantasy, where he just booked the match.
I knew about that for 2 years.
But you look at Maria Shakir, Mina, and Mariah. These guys have so much history, and they're just rather than having the match in Japan, where these two have done a lot of their history. We're just going to have them on Wednesday night television, which just doesn't make sense.
Well, he needs ratings right now. His ratings are dropping. I mean,
we'll see what happened there. And the final thing, NXT, get Bischoff was a nightmare on Bischoff. I loved his segment, but God, he killed the ratings. Hopefully the ratings go up after next week when he's not there. Quick note on hockey. The New York Rangers made some big moves. It's going to be interesting there what they do, shipping out their captain. The comments Truba said about how things were not held well. This is the second time they did it with Barkley Goudreau in the summer, kind of forcing him out. It's going to be very interesting there. Last thing on WWE, I'm not kind of a fan of Gunther and Finn kind of going at it. I feel like this could use more time, but they're just kind of pushing it in. But we'll see what happens. We'll have a hockey fan chat out ready in the next little while. If you want to follow me on X or Instagram, follow me at Randy Dillon, DHILLON. That's all I got. I know that the mouthful.
That was a lot. You did it pretty quick and good stuff there. I'm going to go to TBK. I know Anthony's always going to have something to say last. I know that. I know Anthony will do that. But TBK, I'm going to transition to you. I'm going to put your Instagram page up here, and the floor is yours.
Thanks for having me back on. Great show as always, boys.
Big turnout tonight. A really big turnout. I got 200, almost 250 people watching me right now.
I mean, people know where to be at on a Friday night,
Well,
but anyway,
that's for sure.
So, real quick, I'm gonna debate something real quick that Anthony said. Something about Rock getting Roman getting the Ulafala back. I don't think that's gonna happen. The reason why is, I mean, at this point, it is rumored, it's been suggested, it's been reported that Rock is not going to be at WrestleMania 41. The question being is, do we care about The Rock and Roman anymore? Or has that ship sailed at this point? Like, it's been pushed off way too much. The only way that I see that happening is you have to give them something to fight for. There has to be a meaning. Since there's no championship involved in the picture anymore, the Ulafala is now their championship. So I think that The Rock comes back in, takes the Ulafala from Solo. I think Solo hits the bricks for a little bit. I think that Jacob steps up. You got to put him with a power guy, who better than The Rock. And you have to, if you're gonna put a cap on this. A match that people have been waiting for, you have to give them something to fight for. So the only match that I can see that makes sense anymore between these two is possession of the Ulafala. Rock has it, Roman wins it. That's how you wrap that up. All that out of the way. Be more talkative. We'll be back. I was going to save it as a surprise because it is a pretty big episode, a pretty big guest coming on. But I'm here. I may as well plug it. There's been mutual conversations between me and a certain 7-star superstar, Mr. CJ Black. So that is going to be my next interview. Look out for that. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. I think I have everybody in the chat. Okay, great there. We'll look forward to that when that certainly happens. And now, Anthony, I'm going to pass the baton to you. And anything else that you may plug, share, or say, speak, or forever, we'll see you at a different time on Sportswire. So the floor is yours.
So I'm gonna speak on a couple of key factors. One, the thing I'm getting ready for the most for WWE, and this is gonna show my age a little bit, as TBK says, the farewell tour of my idol, my hero, John Cena. This is. You might not want to show that video.
I just realized, I'm like, you know what it is, Anthony? I have to be honest. So for every time I click on this stop the share or share the page, it shows like all my people I don't follow. Then I have to follow you back, and then it goes to unfollow. And then I'm like, shit, did I not see this video before? And that's why I saw that. I'm like, okay, yeah. I looked at the date. I'm like, okay, we're gonna move on. Go ahead, Anthony. Forever continue.
I'm ready for the farewell tour of John Cena. That is the dude that got me into wrestling. A wrestler is that man right there, and to see what his run is going to be like in the year of 2025, the final run of Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect is going to be one that I can't wait to see, can't wait to live. Also, I want to speak on the Cody Rhodes storyline that's going on. I feel like a lot of people were behind him. They wanted him to become champion so bad, and after he beat Roman, everyone has just shit canned him. I feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. The instantly goes into a feud with AJ Styles, has a 5-star fucking banger at Backlash, and literally in another feud yet again with Kevin Owens, but this time heel Kevin Owens, one of the best Kevin Owens we've ever seen. They're not giving him his credit. Yeah, he's not defending the title every single week or every single month, but he's getting put in big time storylines that make sense. And a lot of people ain't looking at it from that aspect. But another thing about WWE, as you were saying, the Finn Balor and Gunther, I don't think it needs to happen as soon as they're trying to. Then it needs to have a build up. They gave Damian his build up with Gunther, and I feel like they're kind of dropping the ball with Damian Priest, because their whole thing was Gunther lost to Cody Rhodes at what was it, Crown Jewel,
right?
And literally goes on this complete decline, and then all of a sudden literally tries to look like a beast at Survivor Series, and literally they're not talking about how Finn is a reason Gunther's still champion, and then instantly the next Raw he faces Dominic Mysterio. What a great upgrade, my guy. That makes so much fucking sense. But like WWE, I feel like it's getting the end of 2024. They're looking towards 2025 to see what is really going to be transpiring. I feel like there's about to be some good feuds, good face turns, heel turns. And all I'm gonna say is bring my boys, the Street Profits, back. Y'all just did them dirty. That kind of upset me. It took Motor City Machine Guns 20 years to get the WWE. It took them 2 weeks to win the titles, and now you just shit canned them. So like WWE, it's like it's iffy right now. They're making decisions that boost them, and then they're making decisions that drop them at the same time. And all I can say is I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to be paying attention, and I'll have more advice or opinions on what is
You
about to
always have
transpire.
opinions. You're here multiple times a week. You'll always have it.
Like,
You'll probably be here the next
but
2 days or so. So, you know that. But
it's just one of those things where WWE is going to be WWE at the end of the day. We're going to either love them or we're going to hate them, but we still watch for some reason.
that's the name of the
And
game.
last thing I'm going to say, I can't remember who said it earlier, who you said it to. My Packers, we almost had it. I have to give TBK shit. I hope your Ravens lose this week. That way I can feel better just a little bit.
We don't play this week, buddy.
Oh, well. I hope you lose next week. I hope you lose next week.
When you messaged me, I said I'm going to baseball next. That's Anthony.
Look,
that's why I'm going to baseball. I have to go to baseball here. Go ahead.
That's why I'm saying this now so I can get off here. Green Bay is doing a lot better than what I thought it was going to this season, and we're really showing up that we are a potential threat.
Yeah, they'll be in the playoffs. I think Green Bay will be in the postseason.
They've already solidified themselves in the playoffs. If y'all look at the NFC right now, outside of Green Bay, there's not a team that's anywhere close to what we're doing right now. And the way I look at it is I look at it as Aaron Rodgers when he first became starting
2008, 9, 10.
2008, 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Literally he became starting quarterback in 2008, showed what he was capable of, but didn't make it. 2009, he did the same thing, got better, showed that he was more, but didn't make it. And then 2010, he wound up coming up and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers to win his first Super Bowl. It is, I see Jordan Love doing just that, and especially with the young talent that we have. And Josh Jacobs, dude, phenomenal running back.
8 rushing touchdowns the last 4 games. Yep.
This dude, and it's funny because if you look at the 2 dudes that are higher with rushing yards this season, it's Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. The 2 dudes that are fighting for number 1 and number 2. And for him to come out being his first season as a starter, and he's beating Aaron Jones, who used to be one of the top players on Green Bay. So I mean, this is a good year for us. If we create an upset, I'm happy. I'm really happy. I hope Baltimore finally does something to where I could see my team versus TBK's team. That way I could talk crap with them on Super Bowl Sunday. So
we'll see.
Let's see. But
we'll see.
Only thing we need to do right now is cut Deontay Johnson.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll see all of it. I definitely want one more time everybody to follow you, Anthony, because I gotta get to the guys. They've been waiting patiently. And Anthony, there you go. That's his Instagram. Check him out, Anthony _Steele 27510. That's his page. Don't look at the October 21st video, but actually watch it, but watch it in the IMF. He'll be here, definitely be here during the week. I'm sure he will be. TBK, Randy, good to see you as always, my friends. Anthony, I'm sure we'll see you probably tomorrow, I'm sure. But they left, and we'll let you go as well, Randy. And that was that. Now I could take this off the screen. They got the point, and we're joined here by the men that host the New York MLB Talk. That is Rob Maraska, who is shaven for the first time in God knows how long. And we got Chris Pizzaia, who's also the host of the Liftoff Jets. And I'm actually going to talk some baseball because a lot of off-season signings. It's not that guy, but there's a bunch of other movers and shakers. And guys, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
I'm doing good.
I'll go start with Rob Maraska first because the New York Mets just made a couple of moves here, and one of them I'm just kind of perplexed at why is Clay Holmes a New York Met, Rob Maraska? So for those that are listening and watching here right now, since I got 260 plus people watching this, thank you, Ernest Dove, for sharing this on X. Why did the New York Mets sign Clay Holmes, and why is it that he might be in the starting rotation? And the cat even is kind of perplexed at this one. Boy, Rob, you get it for first base if you're a Navy SEAL, which you're nowhere near that. I mean, I don't even know if you can pass boot camp. Now we got Clay Holmes who's going to be in the Mets starting rotation. Your cat just walked by. Rob, help us out.
Anyway,
Rob.
yeah, they want him to be a starter. So let's see what happens. Why not? You know what? It's not. Hey, it makes things interesting. 3 years, $38 million to be a
a
starter.
starting pitcher when he was supposed to be a lights out closer. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I mean Seth Lugo, it worked. I guess you could say, but I'm
That's what I was
skeptical
gonna
on
say.
this one.
Yeah, but like you said, look at Seth Lugo, what he's done for the Royals. So anything could happen. But yeah, the Mets. I just started to hear about this the other day. I mean, this came out of left
Now
field.
I know you guys did a podcast today. Did this break on your podcast? You did. It broke on your. So we'll talk about it tomorrow it'll air on the radio here. But I mean, what does this mean for Sean Manaea?
I don't know. I still want to see them re-sign Manaea. Let's see what happens. The Mets
We got Frankie
pitching.
Montas, right? Frankie Montas came. You got him.
Yeah, they gave him a 2-year, $34 million.
You got Clay Holmes,
deal.
and you lost Luis Severino to the A's of all people. I mean, that's just completely fascinating to me. So, where does this leave this Met team right now?
Well, I'd like to see them get one of the big guys, of course. Listen, Senga was their number one pitcher right now, right? And we know what happened to him last year. He was injured. He came back, got injured in the first game, came back in the postseason, and we saw what happened. So the Mets need pitching, like everyone else. Pitching, they need pitching. So whatever moves they make, you can't question what David Stearns is doing, because look what happened last year. Maybe he's trying to get some lightning in a bottle again.
I don't know. I want to go with Chris. I want to go with Chris, because Chris, I know you and obviously the Pinstripe Chronicle boys really weren't the biggest Clay Holmes fans, understandably so. But what do you think of this move? To me, this wasn't on my bingo card. Was that the Mets were going to sign Clay Holmes and make him a starting pitcher? I mean, this is just not on my bingo card here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he came up as a starter in the minors.
Okay,
so that's
I got that.
So it's not that far off. I mean, he's going to be 32 this year. Listen, he's got great stuff. I mean, if you could get him to control his pitches better and all that, I think it'll work. But here's the other side too. Worst comes to worst, if it doesn't, you got a guy that you could put in the bullpen as a setup guy, right? So that's at the worst case scenario. Hopefully, it doesn't get to that point, but I just don't understand it from the Mets side of things.
I'm with you, Chris, on this.
Signing Montas, I don't get it. I don't get.
These guys, I mean, Montas really didn't have a great year. You bring a guy in here, and I get the Brewer connection, but you brought these two guys in, and these guys, to me, aren't the answers to this rotation.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with Rob. I said it on the podcast too. I said I would, if I'm a Met fan or if I'm the Mets, I'm going for one of the big guys, because you got Senga, but Senga didn't pitch at all.
But are you happy? But all right, but are you happy as a Met fan with these two signings so far? That's my question, because I got to be honest.
I'm not upset, but I'm not happy either. I'm just kind of like, all right, show us something else.
To me, it states that you probably lose Sean Manaea, because Manaea is going to want to get paid after a great postseason and a strong second half. Severino signs again. I didn't have it on my bingo card. The Oakland A's or the Sacramento A's now are going to give him $60+ million. And I see Joey Bostrom's here and cousin Joe Dell's here, and I'm sure they'll have a few thoughts to say on this in a minute. But this to me, it tells me Sean Manaea is gone.
Well, I would think so. I mean, unless they go after one of the bigger names. If they don't go after one of the the top three guys, Burns, Fried, or if they trade for Crochet, they might come back to Sean Manaea. It depends on what he's looking for. Maybe he's looking for a 4 or 5 year deal, which is something that would be crazy to
I know he's going to be 34, right? 34 in spring,
something like that. I know he's up there.
Yeah, I mean that's the rule of thumb. You don't give pitchers who are crossing the middle part of 30s more than like a 3-year deal. I don't know.
And especially a guy who doesn't exactly have a great track record. He's going to be 33 in February.
Okay, so I had 34. You had 33. Yeah, 4 years at 33. Somebody's
years,
gonna do it.
maybe.
Somebody will break the bank. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Had a strong season.
Well, would
but
you give him? Let me ask you something. Would you guys give him the same deal that the A's gave Severino?
Yeah,
He
I
probably
would.
wants that deal, so
At least
I
that.
would. Yeah. Yes.
What'd you make of that? The A's all of a sudden leave Oakland, go to a ballpark with less people, and spend 60 plus million on Severino. Do they know something that nobody else does?
It's possible.
And listen, we talked about it before. You can't blame Severino, man.
No. I'm not. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that I'm surprised that the Oakland, now Sacramento A's, go to a ballpark where they're going to play probably even still less people than what they just played in Oakland, and signed a pitcher that's also had his own track record of injury problems, and they just gave him 60 plus million for a team that he's going to probably take up a quarter of their payroll, maybe even a third of it this season. I mean, that's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's crazy. That's another one. Who saw that coming? I mean, you can't even call them the Oakland A's. You can't call them the Sacramento A's. We got to call them the A's.
They're just the A's. They're just the A's. Hey.
But that's even
It's
more
crazy.
bizarre, because I think the ballpark now is going to cost even more money. And in Nevada, Las Vegas is talking about 1.5 billion, right? We talked about that in the Sportswire.
I just find it strange that ownership would spend money now on a free agent after not spending money for the last God knows how many years.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And then as soon as they move, it's like, okay, let's sign the, and you're also signing a guy who hasn't thrown more than 19 games, hasn't been in more than 19 games in 6 years. That was the first time since 2018 he was in more than 19 games in a season. So, listen, but here's the other side. I think the A's are not bad. I think they're a pretty good team. Last year,
I think if you would have looked, I think the second half of the season, right? The A's had a 500 plus record. You look at it, you're building. You've got a pretty strong closer, right? You got an emerging
really good lineup.
I was going to say an emerging lineup. You got a good manager. I mean, the American League West, I don't think is strong by any stretch of the imagination.
I can see a wild card for the A's. I don't know about the division, but I could see a wild card.
No, you got to look at it like this. Seattle's kind of always around, or gets eliminated by the second to last day of the season always, right? So what is Texas? And then Houston's back, but they've still got some decisions to make. So it's kind of reasonable to infer that the A's could be a 500 ball club. I don't know if they're going to win more than, I
give
can
them
see 500.
I would say they'll be in the hunt for a wild card, like in late
That's
August,
reasonable.
early September. I think they'll still be in the race.
Let me get to a couple comments. I got Joey Bostrom here, who's been waiting to talk for half an hour, and I got cousin Jodell. Good evening, Jodell. Great game last night. Yeah. TBK has an Instagram page only. He is on Instagram. He does not have a YouTube channel, but that was his Instagram page. Yeah, the Holmes move. That wasn't on my bingo card list, that the Mets were going to sign Clay Holmes to be a starting pitcher. And conversely, he didn't see Severino go into the A's.
I thought the contract length, I think, was more surprising, because we heard that teams, not just the Mets, but other teams, were looking into moving him into the starting, into become a starter again. But I just think 3 years, 38, whatever it is, 338. I thought that was a little high for him, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I guess the theory would be is if I was going to go on the market and I was going to obtain a starting pitcher, let's say, I don't know, 4-starter, let's just throw that as an example, I'd probably be spending less on Holmes, right? That's the logic. Is that my logic? That I because I'm signing him for less than 13 million, if I were to go on the market and get a middle of the rotation pitcher, 4-starter, let's say, I'm probably going to spend more.
If he works out as a starter, right?
Well, that's my point.
But if he works out as a starter, you got a bargain. If he doesn't, then
which is I kind of think, I guess, the logic to it. I guess that's my point. That's the logic that, you know, you're going to go with that, and maybe that's why that you're doing it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to throw it out there.
And just with my thing with the Mets is, you know, they should be in on the big starters. They shouldn't have to be, you know, like, oh, let's try him as a starter, or let's sign, you know, Montas. You know, maybe he'll bounce back. Do they really think they're going to get lightning in a bottle like they got last year with Minaya and Severino again? I mean, maybe they do, and it works out great. You never know. But I think you're, for a team that should be all in, that should be spending money, that should be going for, you know, all right, maybe not Burns and Fried, but what about, you know, Flaherty? You know, he's another good starter. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know. Something, it just seems weird. Maybe they're still going to get one of those guys, and that's probably going to be it. But
I think the A's are trying to make a splash with Luis. Good line.
Hey, he's going to be their opening day starter too. They announced that too. So.
Obviously, I mean, they spent. It's the most they've ever spent on a player. I mean,
right? May as well, right?
Yeah.
Even when they had, you know, I'm thinking Tim Hudson, Jason Giambi, Barry Zito, Miguel Tejada. You know, they weren't spending. They didn't have them when they were making the 20+ million. They had them when they were right about to leave the team. I mean, so Rich Herron would, you know, you threw out there whoever, Eric Chavez, that they've had, you know, big players that have been here. You know, they don't get them at when they're making this kind of money. So this is a big deal. I would take Sean Manaea back, but a short-term contract, 66% season and postseason. Don't need him to be married as a team. Well, you're signing him for a full year contract. I'm not quite sure what the point is. Rob Maraska was side by side with Hesse the body. I think somebody's here losing it a bit. Okay, thank you for the comment there. I got the picture. But all right, so I got that part of it. But what's going on here with Juan Soto? You know, I hear different things. You know, our old friend Ernest Dove, who I got to give a big shout out to, who really is the reason why we have a lot of new people out there on X that are tuned in. He's going to be back here actually in a couple of weeks, and he's going to talk about, I'm sure, if Juan Soto signed out there and a number of other people out there. And he's got a YouTube channel, by the way. If you haven't yet get a chance, go please hit the sub button for him. He's closing in on 500 subscribers. He's at Ernest Dove. Just go out there. He speaks with all your favorite minor league players. He gives his own talk on a different number of things. So check him out. He's out there from time to time. You can see all his most recent videos. He's interviewed different prospects and players. He and I did a bunch of interviews years ago. But, I mean, so what does this mean then for the likes of Juan Soto? I hear Boston Red Sox maybe is a destination. I hear $700 million. So I'm sure you guys talked about this on the show on the New York MLB Talk, episode 14, coming out on Sportswire tomorrow. But where does this leave Juan Soto right now?
Well, you know, do you think the Yankees are going to let the Red Sox outbid them for Soto? You know, first of all,
the Mets just took Clay Holmes.
Yeah, but that Clay Holmes is
I
not
don't think
Soto.
the Yankees were looking to keep him, though.
but they still let him go to the Mets. They let him go.
But listen. We've been talking about this. This is what Soto's going to set the market. So something's going to come down soon, probably during the winter meetings. They're going to make an announcement. So hopefully he makes a decision. I really just think it's between the Yankees and
you
the Mets.
guys. I think we're saying right. It was you guys, and I listened to a lot of Bobby, Donald, and Rob this week, and I think it was you guys were saying, oh, he's going to definitely go before the winter meetings. But these free agents the last several years, if I were to go over under, especially last year's offseason, they didn't sign until almost going into spring training. I mean, look at the cases of like Blake Snell and Bellinger last year, and all of it, even Yamamoto, right? He didn't sign till right after the winter meetings. So
I think it's going to be different. I think you got more. You got more options this year. Last year there was only a handful of really good players.
It was a lousy offseason.
I mean, obviously it starts with Soto and then it works its way down. But I think, to be honest, just going back to Soto, and I said it to Rob too. My guess is the Mets got the highest offer out there, and the Yankees, if they're close, he'll go back to the Yankees. If it's not close, he's not leaving, money $40-50 million to sign with the Yankees. You know what I mean? If it's that much more, he's going to go with the highest bidder. He's not crazy. You know, if it's like within 10 to 20 million, yeah, maybe he'll go back to the Yankees. You know, he'll weigh that out or something. But if it's at like $40 or $50 million more, like if the Mets are that much higher than the Yankees offer, yeah, I definitely think he's going to the Mets.
What about you, Rob? You're Mr. Met. What do you got?
Yeah, I agree with him too. If Steve Cohen's going to outbid any other team by 50 million, then Soto's definitely going to be a Met. I mean, come on, you can't give up 50 million. Like Chris said, and we talked about it a lot today on the podcast. If it's if it's $5 or $10 million, then if he liked it that much in the Bronx, he'll re-sign with the Yankees. So it's going to come down to the money. Do I think he's going to Toronto? No, Toronto would have to overwhelm
Well, you guys
him.
spoke about that last week on the show about Toronto, and Toronto's been trying to make a splash, and I put up the list of free agents by day, and you guys singled out them. We know last year how hard they tried to get, especially Yamamoto. But why wouldn't he go to Toronto? They're in an emerging city. They're basically right here. Geographically, they're right here from New York State. They've got almost a city very diverse, very similar to New York City. They're the whole thing of Canada. The ballpark's been renovated over the years, and they've had recent success. And they've got guys, again, like Guerrero and Bichette. You put them in the middle of the lineup. They still, obviously have to do some more with the starting pitching, but why wouldn't he go to Toronto? They've had success. Not like they haven't been let's say like the A's where it's shocking they do anything at all. I mean, they're a big city. They've had success. I mean, why not Toronto?
They haven't had great success in a long time, right? They
haven't
in 30
they
years.
had the 2 year. Well, 15 and 16, they were in the ALCS. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they have a team right now that's going to be able to compete with the Yankees or Baltimore.
Yeah, I think
even Boston, for that matter.
I think if Soto goes to the Blue Jays, what they win 75 games last year, maybe they reverse it, so it puts them maybe back to where they were the last few years prior.
Maybe a wild card team, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. I still think they're third best in the AL East at best.
The tough division.
Right. You're not better than the Yankees, and you're not better than Baltimore. And Boston is going to be right there this year. If they add a frontline pitcher to that rotation, that's going to be a team to watch out.
I think it was you. I think you guys did bring this up. I think you guys brought it up last week. I didn't listen to this week yet because we haven't had it on the radio. But Boston, the last couple years, has kind of been un-Boston-like. They haven't made a big free agent splash, really. They've been kind of almost quiet. I mean, Boston's always right up there. Boston's had success. They've won World Series recently. They've had big names here, and they've been kind of quiet almost these last few off seasons. Is this the off season that the Red Sox maybe decide to put their feet in the waters and maybe acquire that big fish like a Juan Soto?
I think so. I mean, maybe not Juan Soto, but you know what? They got a couple of really young, good prospects coming up. They have 7 of the top 100 top prospects in all of baseball. And 2 of them are going to be right up there this year, right? So at least 2. And they got a good young team, a good young, a base of a roster there. If they could add a top line starter, that's going to be a really good rotation, right? You got Tanner Houck, you got Cutter Crawford already. If you add a top of the line starter to that, that's a really good. You got Brian Bayo, young kid. So I think they're going to be right in there. That's why, it's appealing, I think, for Juan Soto, not just because, him and Big Papi are good friends and all this kind of stuff. I just think he looks at that team and goes, hey, you know what? This is not
and hitting team. And I got to still say it, hitting in that ballpark ain't too bad either.
Right. I'm sure he's going to love hitting it off the big, the green.
I think of Manny Ramirez, what he did there years ago when the Red Sox signed him, right? I mean, the Red Sox have an MO with this. Let me run through some of the free agent moves so far, and you say which ones were big, which ones weren't. Obviously, Severino, 3 years, $67 million. I mean, that's obviously a big deal. I think I put it in the Twitter group we have on Sportswire Radio. Aroldis Chapman, Red Sox, 1 year, $10.75 million. You guys probably kind of scoff at
it's
that
not
one.
bad. You know, like you know what they let Kenley Jansen become a free agent, so
Yeah.
that's
Flip a coin.
basically a swap. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Cubs, Matthew Boyd, $29 million, 2 years, middle of the road. Like Frankie Montas, right? 2 years,
More or
$34
less.
million. Blake Snell. We talked about that last week on the show. We obviously missed this one. UC Kokichi, right? Japan.
That's not I mean, the Angels added a couple of decent players. I mean, listen, they're still not a playoff team, but at least they'll be okay, I guess this year. I don't know. Maybe if
yeah. And then the other news was, before I'll get to the free agents out left in the market, Shane Bieber re-signed with the Guardians. I guess kind of expected, but still an important move, right? Avoids arbitration and
supposedly he took less to go back to Cleveland.
Well, they had a great season. They went to, again, team kind of comes back all of a sudden, goes to the American League Championship Series. And, again, the American League Central, you don't really know what to make of it. Okay, the Royals made a move, obviously, a couple weeks ago. What do you make of Detroit? Chicago, we know, ain't going anywhere from 40 wins, 42 wins to 80 wins anytime soon. And you got the Twins, who were kind of like, I don't know what to make of the Twins. So if you're Cleveland, maybe you have a window here to get back and win the division and maybe return to the postseason and do some damage. Maybe that's what I'm looking at it from Shane Bieber's perspective. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, definitely. That's a weak division, and the Guardians. That I think that was a good move. I think it was a move that they had to make. He took less money, so he wants to be there, and they'll probably head that division.
Joe Dell says Soto would look good in the blue and orange. Yeah, obviously. But I'm going to run through the list. I can share the screen. So I'll ask you from the big free agents who's out there. Kyle Higashioka. I ain't going to go ask anybody about that. Travis d'Arnaud with the Angels. Danny Jansen, same thing. I ain't going to really waste my time with that. Gary Sanchez is a free agent. Meh. A lot of these guys here are past their primes.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna
more
really waste
backup guys,
Yeah, James McCann, Tucker Barnhart, Jan
He
Gomes.
was great for Texas, I thought. He's a really good backup.
Yeah, he's a good career.
In that sense, he is.
But these are all like they're not.
They have a starting catcher, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not really wasting my time with this. I mean, Goldschmidt's a free agent. That's obviously somebody interesting. I'll get to Alonso as always. Anthony Rizzo, Yankee fans are obviously very happy about that, right? That he's off the books. Ty France, Josh Bell. I mean, Justin Turner's always an interesting name. 40, but doesn't really hit like he's 40. He's out there.
The only one I brought up to Rob today, I thought Carlos Santana on a 1 or 2 year deal.
That was my name. That was my name. Yep. That's a good one. That's a good one. Fill in the lineup a little bit. Yeah, that's a good name. I mean, some good free agents. Goldschmidt, what do you think happens with him? Anything?
I would assume someone will give him a shot, because of his track record. He's probably a Hall of Famer by, in the next few years, but
yeah, I think he gets in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not 100% convinced, but yeah, I think he gets in. He'll be one of those probably guys we'll debate, but yeah, I mean,
I wonder if a team like Pittsburgh would give him a shot,
I heard it's funny you said Pittsburgh, as we hear with Chris Bazai and Rob Maraska. They're the hosts of the New York MLB Talk. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally, where all sports and all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. But I'm listening to Paul Skeens, and I was listening to him talk, and the Pirates, they kind of should do something. They have this unbelievable pitcher, and they're a team that kind of died a little bit in the second half. And you get a veteran or two in there, and you're not really breaking the bank, but maybe, again, in a division that I have no idea what to make of the NL Central right now. I have no idea. Cincinnati, everybody hyped them. They underachieved a little bit. St. Louis bounced back somewhat. Cubs definitely underachieved. Milwaukee coasted. Can Milwaukee repeat that? I mean, so, I would think if you're Pittsburgh, you got this great pitcher, you got some chips. Shouldn't you make a middle-of-the-road move? I don't know. And that guy would fit the description in Santana.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Pittsburgh, you got the really good rotation now. Good young players, good young pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now's the time. If you're gonna take a dip into that pool and maybe get a little aggressive, now's the time to do it because you got those guys on offense. You already got O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds. Maybe if you could add another batter.
I know they had Santana before, but a JD Martinez kind of makes sense for them a little bit. But I don't know if he'll go there. But he makes sense for them there. Let's go.
Why not? Yeah.
And then he obviously got some other free. Gleyber Torres is out there. I mean, obviously,
that's not a bad idea for them too. You got
Jorge Polanco's a free agent. You got again Whit Merrifield. I don't know at this point. I'd want Whit Merrifield, but certainly got a name. Let's look at some other free agents by position. Willie Adames. But that's declined the qualifying offer. Ahmed Rosario, that's always a name. Certainly been productive. Does he go back to Cleveland? Brandon Crawford retired. Yep, next. Tim Anderson, certainly probably past his prime. Bregman's obviously the big one. I mean, that's one of the bigger chips out there right off the bat. I mean, that's the name that you're going to, zero in and, see where he goes.
Maybe Bregman will go to the Mets.
Oh, it's an interesting one there.
Move Vientos to first, right? Instead of re-signing Alonso.
Could be. Obviously, Alex Verdugo, Yankee fans are going to be very happy to see him leave. A couple of ex-Mets here, Travis Jankowski, Tommy Pham, Michael Conforto, next, Jerkson Profar, who certainly killed the Mets in the 22 Game 3 of the NLDS way back in that. You got Jesse Winkler, who was with the Mets and couldn't buy a hit toward the end of the regular season. Got a couple of big hits in the postseason next. Eddie Rosario, postseason hero a few years back. Harrison Bader, you think you guys were speaking about him next? I mean, not really sexy name.
I think his best role is like as a fourth outfielder.
Yeah, these are not names I'm looking at and saying, okay, I'm going to really, look at them as I'm going to break the bank off. We talked about Soto. Now I got a zero in certainly on Santander and Teoscar Hernandez. What do you think happens there?
I think Teoscar might go back to the Dodgers. At least that's what they would.
Everybody goes to the Dodgers, so why not? Everybody goes.
Yeah,
there.
why not? Exactly. Santander could go to a lot of places. I mean, he's definitely going to get a nice contract.
Baltimore's they got to re-sign him, right?
I don't think they have to. It would be nice. I mean, they do have a lot of good young players coming up, so it's a matter of, do you want to spend your money there? Because Baltimore, they do have the new owner that supposedly does have deep pockets, but we still have to see him spend money. You know what I mean? It's great that
having deep pockets and not doing anything with it are two different things. And just a point on Goldschmidt in his career, 2,056 hits so far. He's got the one MVP. He's got 4 Gold Gloves. He's been an All-Star 7 times. 362 home runs, 1,187 RBIs, 169 stolen bases, 1,050 walks, 289 batting average, 381 on base, 510 slugging, 892 OPS, 1,204 runs scored. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be one of those borderline Hall of Famers. Right now, a borderliner. He needs a couple more years, but it's going to be very much on the border. Let's go to some other names of note that's interesting. DH, we talked about Martinez. McCutchen, I guess, maybe goes back to Pittsburgh another year. I mean, Jock Peterson, meh. I mean, Vogelbach, meh. Starting pitchers, Corbin Burns, obviously, that's the name. Is it a name the Mets target at all with his history with the Brewers and such?
Listen, I hope so. I'd love to see the Mets go after him and sign him. But everything, like we and Chris have been saying, everything is just hinging on Soto to see where the money's going to go. Once Soto signs, then it's going to be the domino effect with all these players, not just the outfielders.
And Mac Fried's out there. That's another name everybody's talking about on Talk Radio. Nathan Eovaldi. Yep. Interesting name.
Good names there.
I think the starting pitching class is by far the class of the free agents this year. This is no question about it. Jack Flaherty,
for
sure. I mean, Kyle Gibson, Nick Shawmania. We spoke about Charlie Morton still alive. Justin Verlander, I guess we go back to Houston, right, on a 1-year deal. I guess maybe. I don't know.
Possibly.
If they want him.
He's Justin Verlander, though. For 1 year, you might take him like a Clayton Kershaw. You take him for 1 year. You know, I mean, that's what I think. I mean,
maybe
kind of
Charlie Morton goes back to Tampa, maybe.
They don't spend on anybody. I think he stays with Atlanta, if anything else. I mean, that would make sense. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
1 more year, you could win. You know, he's pitched well enough there. You know, he's comfortable. I don't really think it makes sense for him to go anywhere else. I mean, he's been there a while. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, the guy, has had a really strong career. 138 wins in this day and age. You know, is kind of like the new 200 wins.
Pretty good.
Absolutely. Listen, Andrew Haney, Patrick Sandoval, Clayton Kershaw, Bieber. We spoke about Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, Jose Quintana. Quintana comes back to the Mets.
I don't think so.
He pitched well a little bit down the stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Remsen's out there.
I don't think so.
Okay, starting pitching field. There's some good starting pitchers here. There's no question that there's some names here. I mean,
you know what? If you want the aces, you got a couple at the top. If you want guys for the middle of the rotation, you got that too.
Yeah.
So you got some pretty good choices.
I think the starting pitching rotation, free agent wise, is very strong right now. It's a very, very strong crop.
And we could see just by the Severino deal, and I think that's some of these guys are going to get contracts that probably you're going to be like, whoa,
I was like, I didn't think he was worth that much, but
right.
That's that. And I would assume Max Scherzer back to Texas for another year.
Maybe goes to Washington for you don't know with these guys at the end.
Julio Tehran's another name. Dallas Keuchel, next.
Nope.
Relief pitchers, we got Tanner Scott, David Robertson. David Robertson is a good name for 1-year deal. Kenley Jansen, you just spoke about. Carlos Estevez, Chris Martin, Sean Armstrong. Yeah, I mean, there's some Kirby Yates is still around.
Too. You know what? The relief pitchers, that's another. You got some good names there.
You do.
Especially at the top. You got some good names there that could help a team. Like, I'm hoping the Yankees add another top relief pitcher, so we'll see.
Yeah, there's some fairly strong names there. So I guess we'll see. Joe Dell would like to see Pete come back for another season. Well, he ain't coming back for just another season. If you're getting him, it's for many seasons. It's many seasons probably, and you're going to be paying toward the back end of the contract. So, I mean, I guess based off what I see here, I don't think that Soto, Alonso are signing by next week. When would you say then that you think that these two guys would sign? Or let's go with Soto first, because Soto's the bigger chip.
I would say Soto is going to sign by the end of the winter meetings.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they want him there to sign. This way, there's a lot of people there. It's a whole big thing and all that. So that's why I think he's going to sign. Like maybe Monday, Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday, not this week, but the following week, right?
No, this week.
So you think he'll sign that quick?
What else do they have to do? Their offers are in. I mean, he's asking. He's probably like, not him, but his agent's probably saying, "Listen, is this your best?"
Boris, right? Boris is agent. Boris is asking it.
Yeah. So this is probably it. I mean, he's got to decide. Okay, do I want to go for the highest bid? Do I want to go for like the Yankee bid? Do I want to go?
I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical. I still think he waits until toward Christmas. I'm going to say today's the 7th now, so
I think by the time we do another show, it'll be done. How's that?
Yeah, all signs are saying
we're here next week. We're doing a regular show next. Well, actually, we should be here for most of the way. I might do it later on the 20th, but your guys are going to be here, so I would imagine it'll be done by the year is out. But I'm just skeptical because of just the amount of back and forth. I don't know. Am I missing something?
I just think the deal, like the offers are there. Like they put in, they went higher last week, right? The Yankees and I think it was Boston up their offers. I mean, there's not much else. Now he's just got to sit there and say, where do I want to play? Right? Because I'm sure
I think the Yankees to me should have the edge because he just played with the Yankees and they went to the World Series, right?
Yeah, so I think so. But
He
if the
played
Mets
there.
are, but if Cohen is willing to spend more than anybody else, then that's got to be something he's got to think about.
But objectively speaking, the Mets don't have Aaron Judge.
Right.
Soto has Aaron
Absolutely.
Judge to play with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing that he's thinking about, I'm sure. Do I want to play with Aaron Judge for the next few years? Or do I want to play with, Lindor and Vientos and all these guys?
I mean,
Not
Lindor
turning
and
them down,
Vientos
but,
are promising.
you know.
But, I mean, Judge is probably the most powerful bat of this generation. I think that as a Yankee, and again, I'm saying this objectively. I'm a Mets fan, but I mean, I think if I'm him, I look at it like Judge has had 2 of the last 3 years, or 2 of the greatest offensive seasons in Major League Baseball history. If I'm playing with him for the next 5 years, I'm going to be getting plenty of chances to get a pitch to hit. I'm going to be getting on base like crazy. And my team
just came off his best career year, right?
41 home runs, right? OPS close to what, 950?
Short porch, all that stuff. That's got to be, like, hey, if I stay here, I might hit, 50 more, 75 more home runs over my career if I play here rather than at Citi Field or in Fenway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he's thinking about
Fenway. I think Fenway's Park is interesting, but I don't think if Soto went to the Red Sox that they go all of a sudden to become a World Series contender. Soto was just with Judge and the Yankees.
It depends on what else they do, just like with the Mets. Right now, the Mets, I don't think, are a World Series contender. But you could say with the Mets,
but the Mets were 2 games away from the World Series. See, you're the Mets. If you're Rob Maraska right now, you're telling yourself, I get Soto. Last year I didn't have him. I'm 2 games short of the World Series. I have him now. I can win.
Yeah, but think about who you lost since last year.
I lost Severino. I'm going to lose JD Martinez. I'm going to lose Harrison Bader. Yeah. I'm going to lose Jesse Winkler, right? I'm going to
Manaea.
I'm going to be determined, and I could
maybe Senga comes back and he's back to being an ace, but you still got to bring back Alonso. If you don't bring back Alonso, that's a big bat you got to replace.
I would agree with you that if I bring Soto in and don't re-sign Alonso, I think that the Mets are just back to the middle of the pack.
And pitching, you got to be concerned about the pitching. If they don't do anything else,
at the beginning of the show, Frankie Montas, and you bring in
Clay Holmes.
That's your move,
but right? That's what I mean.
I don't think they're going to just stop at that.
Yeah, they got to do more than that.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah, they're not. Listen, everything's hinging on Soto. Okay, that's what we just have to wait and see. And like me and Chris have been saying, if the Mets offer $50 million more, he's going to the Mets. If it's close, he's probably staying in the Bronx. That's what it's going to be. And I think we're going to know next week. All the signs are that he's going to make the announcement next week. I mean, anything could happen. We know
is there any
but
team,
that's what the signs are.
All right, let me ask you this much. Is there any team, before I get a few minutes into football, I got to, just for fun, talk about the Jets and Giants for a few minutes. But is there
you don't have to. You don't have to. How about the rest of the NFL? We'll talk about the rest of the NFL.
I'll talk about it. I'll do about 10 minutes on it because I'll do 10 minutes on it. But I mean, I'll say this though. Is there any team that could come from as a dark horse with Soto? Any dark horses out there? Giants, Seattle?
Well, I think the bids are already in. So
Dodgers already. If the Dodgers sign him, I got to be honest with you, Chris, that talked about like a salary cap. If the Dodgers sign him, to me, people complain. Rob Maraska was alive back in the 50s when the Yankees acquired every player and basically gave up nothing.
It's 50s.
Well, that's but back in the 50s, the Yankees acquired every single player. If the Dodgers get Soto, baseball has to do. And I'm not. People gonna think I'm a socialist. And people gonna think I'm just like really,
I don't think he'll go to LA because LA wants to defer everything, and it sounds like Soto wants it all. Now,
but if he by some chance goes to the Dodgers, this to me is the complete baseball. This is the fix. The fix is in. This is to me that the Dodgers are almost designed to win the next 10 World Series. So if he goes to the Dodgers, I think then baseball really has a problem. Olivas had this dumb golden rule thing, which I saw Manfred just said, yeah, we're not doing it now. I mean, I don't even know why he even thought about this idea to begin with. I mean,
Yeah, but he already admitted that he doesn't like it, and it was just something the owners thought of, and blah 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 blah. But he was like, "There's no shot at."
I'd love to know which owner thought about this. I'd love to know which owner exactly.
They probably were just talking together and said, "Hey, why don't we try this?"
Yeah,
obviously,
stupidest idea of all time.
These owners, right, who own a team, don't watch their own teams or the game of baseball, right? That's what it's obviously.
Yeah, who cares?
Apparent to me,
I'm not worried about it.
But there's no, because you guys are the experts. You guys follow this. You track every move. You don't see any dark horse. There's no dark horse team.
I think the dark horse, to be honest, is Boston. Because
nobody
like we're just talking. It's between the Yankees and the Mets, right? We're not even.
To me, when I think dark horse, I'm looking at like Texas. I would look at like Seattle.
I think the bids are in already.
Okay,
the bids are
they
there.
Are.
That's it.
Okay. But those would be teams I would say that, you know what? All right, Soto in Houston, like that's interesting. Or Soto in Texas.
If the dark horses, they would be in by now. So right now it's Yankees, Mets. Think about this. It's the final 5 or 6, right? Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, and Blue Jays.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think the Blue Jays would be very fascinating if he went to. I think that would be really cool for baseball. But
I'd love it if he went there. I have no problem with him going there.
That's a franchise that's never really signed the big free agent. They've tried. I mean, they've gotten, they've acquired people.
They tried Ohtani too.
Oh, I know. Yeah. They tried Yamamoto also.
They tried both.
They tried. I mean, they've tried. I mean, they had David Price. They had him.
Tough. I mean, it's tough to sell on a player, not just a different city, but you're talking about a different country. You know what I mean? That's got to be hard. I mean, I'm not saying Toronto's not nice. Toronto's probably a great city, but it's hard to sell that.
I think that weather, I think March and April, my old buddy Erzenkrift, who came on the show years ago, would probably tell us how he should go to Toronto. But Toronto in March and April has got to be depressing. To go there, you get outside the plane, and it's cold, it's snowy. New York, it's all right, but it's not snowing in April. There, it's
playing in a dome there, so that helps.
Listen, it's also the taxes.
Yeah, I don't know what their taxes in Toronto. Like, is it more than us or is it less?
I think it's more. I think Toronto's are more. Because remember, it's also the difference. Remember, Canadian dollar. You're talking about the Canadian dollar difference. So
is it worth more, Toronto? I mean,
Canadian no, I think so. The owner would pay more there for him here. So it's like, you gotta. It's really. I don't know.
Up your offer even more is what you're saying.
Pretty much,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
So on top of, come right on top of just going to Toronto.
I think the weather would probably be a factor. I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To live there,
like Soto coming from, he grew up in the Dominican Republic, so he's living on an island. This gorgeous island, great weather. He's gonna move to Toronto.
New York, at least it's still, you got Manhattan,
right?
You got that
still cachet here.
The history of being you're a New York Yankee, right? That's the history. But Toronto, and I think Toronto's had success. They haven't been like a franchise that hasn't had success, but I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be the dark horse. Okay,
yeah,
you convinced me on that. Alonso. I'll table the talk on him because it's Soto first, then Alonso. I agree with you on that.
I think next weekend we could talk Alonso. I think that's when it'll start heating up.
So.
Joey Bostrom will chime in a minute, but I do for a few minutes have to bring up some form of football just because, it's Sportzwire Radio.
There's some good games on this week.
Yeah,
not nothing to do with New York teams. So,
the New York teams, the Buffalo Bills are the New York team. You know that,
right? Yeah, exactly.
New York. Jets and Giants don't play in New Jersey. Maybe now Jet and Giant fans will officially want to say that the New York Giants and the New York Jets can now be claimed New Jersey, right?
Yeah,
after how they've played.
I'd be totally for that.
Okay, all right. Well, we had a great game last night. Anthony Steele certainly gave me a soliloquy on that, and that's what he does every time he's on Sportswire. But I'll pull it up here. We'll go for fun. I ain't gonna go. I won't, from a misery standpoint, ask you about the Jets and Giants. But I got the games of note. Steelers and Browns is certainly of note. Falcons and Vikings has a lot of implications, especially with the Falcons
going back to Minnesota.
Yep, and the Falcons in first place at what 6-6. How
Yeah, but
funny
they've been.
is
I
that?
think they're on a 4-game losing streak or a 3-game losing streak.
Three. I think it's three. Three.
Kirk
Right.
Cousins does not look good the last few
And
weeks.
Tampa Bay 6-6, and you just know 9-8's going to win that division. So,
Probably.
and the Vikings, poor Vikings have 2 losses, but are a game and a half out of first place. So that's a game of note. We got
But
Raiders and
Minnesota plays at Detroit last week of the season.
Yep.
I wonder if
Yep.
that'll have any, any playoff implications.
Seahawks Cardinals has obviously got
For
implications
the division.
there. Seahawks for the division. Bills and Rams, another game certainly got
Good one.
implications. Bills already clinched a playoff. Bills were the first team to clinch a playoff spot, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I think they're going to win the division this week too, probably.
I wonder if they win the division by the most. I'm sure somebody will fact check me, but they could win their division by the most games of any team in history.
Yeah.
Potentially, they could potentially
so.
do that. Chargers, yep.
That
Our
game,
old
the,
friend
that game in the snow last Sunday was great. I love that.
It was great. It was definitely great. But all of a sudden, in New York, it was like 80 degrees a month ago, and now it's like really cold. I was
Right,
like, geez, I was still wearing like a fleece sweater and thinking about shorts 3 weeks ago, and now I'm in like winter garb again.
Yeah, I think we're in for a cold winter. We haven't.
Yeah,
had
I was
one
like,
in a
I
while.
thought we were going to ease into this year, but not so fast, to quote Lee Corso. Chargers and Chiefs, obviously game with a lot of
That's a
implications.
good one. Sunday night too, which is good.
Probably a
We got
good one, definitely a good
primetime
one.
game.
And I don't want to get people's hopes up, but the Cowboys have won a few games in a row.
Man.
Are sort
The
of
one
alive.
good thing about the Monday night game, if you have Disney Plus, I think it's a Simpsons game.
Yeah.
Right,
It's,
the
I was
animated
watching
stuff.
for the Manning cast. Yep. Yeah. Well,
I will definitely be watching it.
all right.
Because the game's gonna stink, so may as well watch it that way.
College games, yep, definitely. I will probably do a few minutes on college next week. Yeah, Seattle, Arizona's a good one. Arizona struggled. Seattle obviously wins last week a game they really shouldn't have
That whole
won.
division is up for grabs right now. Even the 49ers, I think they're only a game out, and they're 5-7.
They're 2 games back. They're 2 games back.
2 games back.
But they have the games in hand. But I don't think San Francisco this year. I think San Francisco's problem is they were there. Think about it. They were just there at the mountain too many times. You got the 4 NFC title games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowls. You've had a bunch of injuries this year, quarterback, players. I think San Francisco's probably hitting a wall. That could be wrong. Maybe they run the table, but it doesn't seem like it's their year. Chargers, Chiefs, Harbaugh's done a good job. And, Eagles, everybody's talked about them. Dolphins, Jets, we're not going to go there, right? But the Dolphins are sort of alive, but they're really not. And that's the rest of the schedule. And Lions, Packers might have been one of the best games of the year. I think Justin
was great.
said that.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah.
That
Then,
last
next week. Yep. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just gonna say that last minute of that game was great last night.
Well, how about if it was in college, Jared Goff would have been ruled down. That was college. He would have been ruled down, and we're talking about a different outcome. We're talking about overtime, and Dan Campbell certainly he gambles. I'll tell you that much. Going forward on a 4th and 1,
I wonder
at the 30-yard line.
He blew the game last year against San Fran in the.
I think Dan Campbell was.
game.
I'll tell you what Dan Campbell was. Dan Campbell was definitely a Madden player because if you were a Madden player, that's what you used to always do. It's 4th and inches at your own 30. Yeah, I'll go for it because all you have to do is take the ball, run it to your running back, and they shove it in. Dan Campbell definitely played Madden. I can tell you that much. Joey wanted to say a couple of things. Yeah, Kansas City has been very lucky this year.
Yep. I agree. They haven't played great, but they keep winning.
Listen, the Buffalo game, right? Buffalo they lost. But it was the Raiders. That was a game they unbelievably got to break. Carolina was an unbelievably game they got to break.
I think half their wins have been,
I think what's that one? I think only one game was it 1 or 2 games this year they've only won by double digits. Every other game they've won, it's a touchdown or less.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating stat to me.
I think wasn't week 1 was when they beat the Ravens and. The receiver, his toe was out of bounds, right? It was just by a toe.
Yes, week 1.
DK was going crazy about that. I remember he was
basically their season. They've won by a toe in every game. So,
but that sometimes says luck runs out. Luck will eventually run out. San Francisco's definitely had a lot of injuries. Detroit's on a mission. Yeah, but Detroit's another team too that they had no business winning the Bears game last week. Detroit had no business winning that game. I mean, their ex-coach for the Bears, Matt Eberflus, he had to have been the worst coach when it comes to time management I've ever seen in history. I mean, Bobby Tats could have did a better job than that.
Listen, and with Detroit, think about the pressure that's on them now because, they're obviously making the playoffs, but they have to get to the Super Bowl because they're going to be losing all their, they're going to lose their offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator.
Aaron Glenn, you're going to lose.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to lose a lot of your guys. So you got to do it. That's what's tough in the NFL. When you're good, you got to make sure like you just brought up San Fran, right? They've made it there, but how many different coordinators they've had these last couple of years, right? And that's what's going to happen with Detroit now. Detroit's going to lose their guys. So,
yeah, Detroit has got to go out there and
they got to get to a Super Bowl. They got to get to a Super Bowl.
And we want to say hello to Angela out there who just shared our link on X. So we got like 300 plus people on X. And if you're here on X, go hit the sub button for me. I'll hang out for a little while longer because Angela is an NFL fan. When she hears baseball, she hits the snooze button. NFL, she's into. Well, listen, but we had a lot of baseball talk. What can I tell you? I had to get into baseball. But yeah, I mean, Detroit.
We'll talk NFL next week. That's all.
I will talk. We had a lot of baseball talk. I had to get into it. Mets made moves, but I mean, Detroit, Green Bay, definitely a great game last night. No question about that. Green Bay, Anthony Steele made his points about Green Bay. Yeah, I think Green Bay will be a formidable team in the playoffs. I don't know yet if they're a Super Bowl team, but they're definitely formidable. But Detroit, I think that they're the team in the NFC, but I'm not so convinced when I see some of these decisions they make with these fourth downs. I don't know. I'm kind of.
I think it's between them and Philly in the NFC this year. I don't think.
So wouldn't that tell you then that it's important more for Detroit to get the home field rather than Philly? Because I'm in a dome in Detroit. If I'm in Philly, look at San Francisco 2 years ago. They go into that cold, and it's like. It was cold that day in Philly, if I recall.
And you know what? And Goff's numbers are not good outside in the cold.
Yeah.
As I would think. Well, he's not Tua level, but he's certainly not far behind.
If they lose a game and they lose that home field, that might be the tipping point. Because I think Philly could beat them in Detroit as well.
I think Philly's a lot of injuries. And in one point to Philly was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they lost a heartbreaker. And I know they had a tough second half, but Philly also is on a mission. Everyone's talking about Detroit. Detroit's had this unbelievable run. It's the first time in their history they've been at this
with
level.
Like a chip on their shoulder this year. I feel like the coach. Everybody was like, "Yeah, he's not that good." Saquon, of course.
It took the words right out of my mouth. I think with Philly, they were supposed to have been where Detroit is now last year, and they collapsed in the second half. A lot of talk about the coach, and I think that they're the team that has a chip, and I think that Philly, if they get home field, they went there 2 years ago and lost the Super Bowl, and they lost it in a heartbreaking fashion. And I think sometimes what it also tells you that it's very hard in this league after losing a Super Bowl to go back and win it. Look at San Francisco's gone through it twice. Look at what Philly went through. They collapsed in the second half, and I think that they're going through the same thing. So you have to watch maybe Philly, if they were to get home field, would that be a stumbling block for Detroit? But also conversely, Detroit's played a lot of close games recently also. How about the Bears games? The Bears games they've played, we spoke about Green Bay. I mean, Minnesota, not convinced that Minnesota could do any damage.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think to me it's between Detroit and Philly. I don't see any of the other teams on their level. The AFC.
I certainly don't think anybody in the NFC. I don't think Atlanta or Tampa would do a single thing. I think Tampa, if they're lucky, wins a game again. Baker Mayfield's played okay. Maybe a little better than Kirk Cousins. I mean,
and the West has been kind of like, look at Seattle last week. If Seattle played anybody else, they would have got their butt kicked last week. That's how bad they were.
Seattle got lucky. They got lucky with San Francisco. They won that. Yeah. And they won the Rams game. If you remember the Rams game about a month ago, they won that, right? It was the Rams. Seattle did beat the Rams. The Rams had the lead, and they won 3 games they probably shouldn't have won.
Right.
So Seattle to me looks like the quintessential 9-8. Seattle screams 9-8.
And Arizona too. I think they're all kind of
Yeah.
like that same, like they'll have the win one, this week, but they'll have a bet, like they just.
Yeah.
I think you're right. 9-8. They're almost like
They
a
scream
the South.
to me. I'm gonna get to Joey and Angela. I'm gonna let them have a couple comments. I'll hang out with it. I'll say this on Seattle and Tampa or Atlanta, and I'll throw in, I guess, Arizona. That they both scream 9-8, so they cancel each other out. Whoever wins that division, they're 9-8, and they're one and done. If they're lucky, they win 1 game, and that's it. I think the wild cards, Steele is partially right. Minnesota, Green Bay, and then it's down to 1 wild card. You got a combination again of Washington, Arizona, Seattle, or the Rams, and then I guess Atlanta or Tampa. Dallas is alive. Do you buy Dallas being back? I don't know.
Nah,
I mean,
no way.
but if they beat the Bengals, though, they're 6 and 7.
I think the wild card is set the way it is right now. Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington. That's it. That's your wild cards this year.
You don't think that the Rams or even Arizona could overtake Washington?
What are they? A game out?
Yeah. And Angela here wanted to say this. Let me get to Angela. I'll get to Joey and Angela. Let's see here what Angela had to say. I just saw it. Yep.
I mean, it's possible because you know what? Washington, do you trust them down the stretch, right?
I personally don't. Also, Angela wanted to say, because it's not popping up on my screen, but she says, I like that Detroit takes more chances on 4th down. It's gutsy. Well, there's gutsy and there's gutsy, Angelo. 4th and 1 on your own 30-yard line. I have to admit, I was delivering my newspapers at 4:30 in the morning, and I was debating in the 20-degree cold and 20-mile-an-hour winds. I wasn't thinking about whether I was going to get hit by a car, but what on God's green earth with the Detroit Lions doing? But it worked. And speaking of somebody who finally showed up here for the first time in ages, John Gonzalez is here in the house. Wow. Boy, you got a big turnout when John Gonzalez is alive. John's been following me on TikTok. He's got to be happy about, but you know what? At least he's here. Brad Weiss hasn't been here in ages, who's never showing up on this platform again because he's just, an airhead, but that's a different show for a different time. Thanksgiving was great. I'm here now, and Thanksgiving feels like a year ago, but yeah, it was great. How about yours?
Exactly. That's like
a year ago. I mean, I just saw a movie today, which was kind of good. It was called the Y2K movie. It was not what you think about Y2K. Kind of. It was like a horror movie about Y2K. It was terrible to live maybe in the year 1999 and 2000. I didn't have mutton chops and long hair, but the movie was so-so. But I don't want to spoil the movie, but it was a fun hour and a half to kill. But we got here. Yes, Detroit and Green Bay was a great game. We love him too, but he didn't. You know what? I know you're a Brad guy, but like. He walked off from the show. I like him too. Like I'm responsible for him getting, his start anywhere. But like he left the show and didn't tell us why. I mean, and still couldn't just say, "Yeah, I'm coaching." I mean, I don't want to make this about Brad Weiss, but like, he left. Like, he knows it. There's nothing he could say about that. But AFC, is it more clear cut? Because the NFC, you told me real quick that it's a 2-team race, but the AFC with Kansas City kind of having some struggles a little bit despite the record. Does that open it up for you guys for anybody else real quick?
Listen, I think the way Buffalo's been playing, this might be their year.
I think so.
It might finally be, they might.
Does Buffalo get home field? But does Buffalo get home field? If they get home field,
they'll need it against Kansas City. It's different. They don't play in a dome. They play outside. So going to Kansas City in the cold weather is not really the same as Detroit going to Philly. Right.
Kansas City still had Buffalo's, but Kansas City has still had Buffalo's number.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
That's right. They still got to beat them, and that's the thing. It's weird. It's the complete opposite in the regular season, right? Buffalo beats them all the time, but then in the playoffs, Kansas City beats them. So to be honest, it's probably between them two, maybe Pittsburgh this year.
Pittsburgh.
Right.
As much as I would love to see Pittsburgh, but I'm always skeptical with Russell Wilson at the helm.
Right. I don't trust him either. Yeah. But
I want to see Pittsburgh, but I'm just skeptical that they could be the team there. I think good. Baltimore. I mean, TBK is going to be Baltimore. I don't know. I mean, Baltimore.
You know what? Baltimore, for some reason, and I don't know if it's just Lamar Jackson or the team themselves, but they always find a way to shoot themselves in the foot, right? When they're on, that offense is almost unstoppable. You know, with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, that's a really good offense. But
yeah, I mean, listen, two-time MVP.
Yeah, but right, exactly. But for some reason, they always find a way to shoot themselves in the foot, and obviously we know how not so good they are in the playoffs. So it's I think, to be honest, it's between Buffalo, Kansas City, and I think Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's we talk about dark horse. That would be my dark horse, but not that they're a dark horse.
And yeah, because I don't buy Houston. I don't buy Denver. I don't buy Denver.
Not yet. They're
Chargers.
Still young.
What about the Chargers? With Harbaugh, Harbaugh wins.
Yeah, exactly. I could see them too. You're right. That's
Chargers. Our old friend Anastasia Rossinia would love. I mean, diehard Charger fans there ever was. I mean, if the Chargers went into Arrowhead, yeah, 4.
Let's go with those 4. See, it's different. NFC, you got 2, right?
I think it's 2 and nobody else. Yeah, I don't buy Minnesota.
AFC's a little more wide open, which is good.
I would say, I think it's definitely Kansas City, Buffalo, and then there's a few teams that are like a notch under,
right,
which
Pittsburgh, Chargers,
maybe Baltimore,
right, maybe yeah.
That's it. I don't think anybody else.
Yeah.
Denver. I mean, I don't buy Denver. I think Denver could make the play because I think the playoff situation is actually pretty clear this year.
Yeah, I think they're in.
I mean, it's pretty much your 6 are going to be locked, right? Because I mean, Houston's got it in the South. I mean, Houston's the 2 games ahead of the Colts, right? They're 2 games ahead of the Colts. Denver's got 1 wild card. Chargers got the other wild card, and then Baltimore has a wild card, right? So those are your 3 wild cards this year, right?
And they're all like 8-4, 8-5, and then you got Indy at 6-7, Miami 5-7.
Miami to me losing to Green Bay, and Miami's lost some games that they probably shouldn't have lost. I mean, Miami does get hot at this time of the year,
but you know what? Miami's done this the last couple of years. They just don't beat good teams.
Miami screams their usual 8-9, 9-8. I think there's a stat the last 16 years, Miami's finished between 6-10 and 10-7 or something 12 times. I think that's just it's a crazy. They're just always in the middle.
Yeah, they are. They're just because they don't beat good teams. Their record against good teams is below 500.
Terrible.
Yeah, and if they have to go on the road in December or January, not
done.
Good.
Forget about it. Cold Detroit's roadblock is Philadelphia. In Philly, yeah, probably, John. Good point. And John, I got to get you in the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll do it one of these days. You come on the stream next week, and I'll put the certificate. No, seriously, I'll put you in the Hall of Fame. You come on the stream next week. We'll talk some football. We'll have it a little longer. Buffalo and KC 2-team race. Rob is ecstatic. Clay Holmes to the Mets. Yeah, we spoke about Clay Holmes.
Yes,
I mean, Rob liked it. I mean, I don't have that much to say on it. Angela deleted her post, but she said Buffalo's playing great, though. But yeah, Buffalo's playing great. Josh Allen is playing great off the field. He's engaged to Haley Steinfeld, who I actually think is, to be honest, better than Taylor Swift. But that's a different show for a different time. No, I mean, everybody has their preference, but obviously,
if we're looking at looks, absolutely.
I think she's younger too. I think Haley Steinfeld is better than Taylor, but I'm respectfully, that's all I'm going to say. But
Taylor Swift is more talented, though.
I think. I will.
And has a lot more money.
Yes,
has a lot more.
Well,
money.
that's obviously the big part of it. Sure, $1 billion versus $20 million is a major difference. But I think I got the point, John. Yeah, maybe John will put you in the Hall of Fame next week. I'll put a certificate up. We'll let you have it. I'll take it. I'll give it to you off the air. I think 2 of us are moderators in the group. Rob's always there in the group. Joey's here in the group as well. I'll invite Angela into the Sports Authorities group as well. We'll get some more members in there. And I think we pretty much ran the good here. But, I know who this is. I believe that Sportzwire and Jason Facina collaboration is this not Coach Gordiesa? Who is Sauce? I'm trying to think who would this be. Sportswire. Well, it's Jason Facina and Sportswire collaboration. Well, Are we talking about Mr. Facina trying to hire yours truly at Five Towns? Is that what we're talking about here? Are we talking about something different here? You talking about what I think? Because I do have my Five Town shirt here. So, I don't know if that's that, but I think that before we sign off, that Sportswire would certainly raise the bar. It would raise the profile of Five Towns. Could you imagine like Rob Maraska announcing on the New York MLB Talk, and Five Towns College plays this team at Word of Life? Or how about like Anthony Steele doing like a 5-minute promo on Five Towns like women's soccer games? Or like, could you imagine like Omen Black or John Gonzalez or somebody like that, or anybody else that we have just talking about Five Towns? You want to talk about raising the profile for the program? I mean, I think you'd certainly want to do that there. A W promo. Yeah. Who's doing the promo though? I mean, we all could do something, but if you really want to see more with Five Towns and Sportswire, I mean, if this is Mr. Facina, or if it's not Mr. Facina, they should certainly get in touch with me if they really was serious about, putting me more involved in the athletics program. Not that I have the time, because I really don't, but if that's something you believe in and you think that there could be some, opportunities to reimagine Five Towns College in the athletics program, I think that this is the place. We have 1,300 subscribers, 2,500 plus on Facebook. We have 325 people watching us now. So, I mean, where else are you going to go with that? And Angela wanted to say, before I come back to that, she wanted to say that she's watching us. Yeah, she's 300. Yeah, she was confirming that she's watching. I just read your comment. Thank you, Angela. I'll definitely give you a call later today, but I don't have much of a voice now. But yeah, I would love to see Sportswire and Five Towns work more for Jason Facina. That would be a barn burner. But yeah, so let's talk about that off the. I don't have much of a voice now, but Angela wanted to say this. She's got her prediction. I'm going to put before we go, only because we have a lot of people watching right. Otherwise, I would have passed away the microphone. But Angela wants to share her prediction from her Facebook page, right? Is this Facebook, Angie? And Angela wants to say that which NFL team will win the Super Bowl? Is it 58 this year? Or is it 59? In my opinion, the Detroit Lions have tremendous improvements recently, especially with their defense stepping up in crucial moments. I believe the Lions will face the Kansas City Chiefs in a thrilling matchup. The Chiefs, led by Patrick Mahomes, boost one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. The amazing matchup has the potential to be a low-scoring game, with my prediction being a 21-17 scoreline. It would be likely a great team. So I'm assuming that Angela's for the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl, right? And also Edward W. Who is Edward W? Remind me, Edward W. Maybe in the future. Well, whoever, I can't see here if it's Coach, but if you're here, regardless, hit the sub button for me, Sportswire Radio 6579. But I think that Five Towns and Sportswire should do more together. I think that it's an obvious no-brainer, because we have thousands of people that come through this platform every year. So if you really want to reimagine the social media aspects and what Five Towns can be, I think that Mr. Facina should have a conversation with me today. So he should do that in the afternoon. But okay, thank you, Angela, for that. I'm going to let you guys have closing thoughts. If anybody else has something else, we have a few minutes. So I'm going to go with you, Chris, next. You got the floor. I'm definitely looking forward to playing both the shows here on Sportswire Radio. And the floor is yours, my friend. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Rob, always nice to talk. Always. Yeah, just looking forward to the Juan Soto sweepstakes finally ending. I think by the time we talk next week, it'll be over and we'll see where it goes. And then we'll finally get the rest of the free agents going, bigger names than what we've seen so far. So just looking forward to that this weekend, looking forward to football other than New York teams.
Buffalo's playing. Buffalo's playing. New York.
I'm sorry. Buffalo. Yeah, that's right. Buffalo's playing. Buffalo's playing. You're right. I shouldn't say that.
You're welcome.
Teams with New York in their name.
And then the Islanders are next. Can we maybe think about not claiming the Islanders right now? Because I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, that's another one. Rangers aren't doing great either. So I think New York, we can't wait for baseball to start. So
pretty much.
Definitely. So anyway, you know where you can find me, CP7NY on Twitter and Instagram, and obviously with Rob at NYMLB Talk, and also with Liftoff at Liftoff Jets.
Absolutely. And follow Chris, CP7NY, Instagram, X. Also, before I get to Angie and Rob's final words, John wants to say, I see either Cliff Kingsbury or Mike Vrabel coaching the Jets next year. Well, Vrabel, I think, would be
I like Vrabel. I don't know
Vrabel's a
about
good one.
Kingsbury's, I don't know.
I think listen, you got to go experience. You can't give me
Yeah.
a coordinator.
Kingsbury's
gotta-
never been a good head coach, college or pro. So
What do you have? The 1 year at the Cardinals made the playoffs 1 year? One postseason?
did he make the
experience?
playoffs that year?
I think they did.
Oh, maybe the
They-
first year, and then they didn't, right?
But they backed in. They were like 8-1, and they went like 10-7 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
Vrabel's a good one. I think Vrabel's had a couple of good years.
Vrabel, I'm okay with.
Did a good job there. I think, that's, I think it's a good one. I should make you laugh. You think Mike McCarthy? You don't want Mike McCarthy?
No,
still.
no, thanks.
Okay. And you wouldn't want the Dolphins coach if he was available.
No.
Okay, I'm throwing it out there. I mean, McCarthy. Listen, if somehow Dallas makes the playoffs, I'm throwing it out
Yeah, that's
there.
not happening. Come on, you know that.
I'm just. Well, McCarthy was 37 wins the last 3 years. I mean, I'm just saying. He
He's
fits
got
the
no
MO.
talent on that team. He's got no quarterback now, right? He's got Cooper Rush as their.
Listen, I tell you what. If Dallas wins on Monday, everyone's going to say, "Oh, well, Dallas has got 3 in a
of
row."
course. And whenever Dallas wins,
they're not dead. They're not dead in the water. Soto's going back to the Yankees. I'll read Angela's comment last because she got 2 more for me. Rob, I'm passing the baton to you. You got the floor. Fire away.
Another great show, guys. Me and Chris have an excellent episode of NYMLB Talk coming up that you'll play tomorrow. Lots of hot stove. Looking forward to the winter meetings and getting this Soto stuff done so that baseball could move on. And looking forward to the NFL games this weekend. So that's pretty much it. I guess next week we'll talk. I think we will have an answer on Soto by next week's show, but we'll see.
Well,
you never know.
And you didn't have any debts to report for us tonight. You didn't have any debt-
I'm in a good mood. I don't want to talk about that.
That took the week off, right? They took the week off, as they would
Yeah.
say. All right, let me get to final few more comments. Then Angela wanted to read off, and Angela wanted to congratulate us. She said, "Wow, 300 something views on X." I was like, "Yeah, thank you very much." And Angela's the reason we got 1,000 subs on YouTube, but we crossed that and broke that down easily. John Gruden to the Jets. Yeah, we spoke about this 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I don't know. John Gruden, I mean, he's rehabilitating himself, but I'm sure he's making a lot of money at Barstool. I mean, I don't know. I'm saying Rex Ryan. I told somebody that in the neighborhood, Rob, and they looked at me like, it's 5 o'clock. You know what he said? 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, yeah. And then and he was like, well, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, Rex Ryan back to the Jets. And he just laughed. And he was like,
Yeah, that's not
move along.
Too many fans are on that too. I'm like, why are you even thinking about this?
Because it's past success. It's past success. It's a franchise that has very little success. Thank you, Joe, for that. I hope you're doing well, Joe. Thoughts and prayers go out to you. Angela wanted me to read off her final prediction of it. She's got it right here on X. There we go here. Also, I'll get to that here. If the matchup happened, so it would be a gritty defensive battle where the Lions' ability to pressure Mahomes and contain his explosive plays could be the key. At the same time, the Lions' offense would need to capitalize on opportunities and control the clock to edge out the Chiefs. If this matchup happens, it would showcase the Lions' rise to the prominence in the NFL. It's a pretty good line. I believe the Lions' defense is strong enough to handle Mahomes' improvisation and the Chiefs' creative play calling. The February 9th, 2025 Super Bowl could be Detroit Lions' year to make history. I think a lot of people would like to see that. I think Detroit not being there, it would be a great thing. I think that Detroit is due for a win. It would be awesome if your guests can post their Twitter link. Oh, I can do that for you right now, Angela. You know what I'm going to do? Because I actually have to share the screen. Here's what you're going to do. I got Chris C. Pizaya. If you haven't yet followed him, there's Chris. I don't know if you're following Chris. There's Rob. Rob Maraska, or Maraska. If you can see it here right now, that's Rob. Rob's in a swimming pool. Definitely not the Fountains pool on Clove Road. That's not the Clove Road pool. I can guarantee you that much.
No,
It's almost-
that's the house pool. That's the
yeah, that ain't Clove Road. That ain't the pool on Clove Road. I can tell you that much. That pool looks like it's got some chemicals in there still that they haven't cleaned out since like 1978.
No,
That's
that pool's clean.
yeah. Well, the one on Clove Road, I couldn't tell you much about clean. And then they have a podcast. Check it out, New York MLB Talk. That's their page. But also, Angela, I know you love football, Angie. So Chris has got this one, Lift Off Jets. Check it out. And since I'm also generous, Ernest Dove has got a YouTube channel. He was the guy that really was generous enough to share it on his page. He's trying to get to 500 subs. Do me a favor, just give him a sub. Ernest Dove, Ernest Dove. Think of it like Bingo. Go out there and support all those pages. And last thing, Severino to Oakland. Yeah, I did not see that. That wasn't on my bingo card, John. And John, you show up next week, I'll put you in the Hall of Fame. So if you show up about 11:30, I'll put up the certificate and we'll give you something to show for the audience. So how does that sound? I hope that sounds good to you. I think I'm about out of breath. So if anybody has nothing else, I'm ready to pass the baton off to everybody else and say thank you so much. Great day on X. Thank you for everybody out there in X tuning into us. If you're on YouTube, Sportswire Radio 6579. And yeah, Jason Facina and Sportswire Radio. Jason Facina, you are the interim athletic director for Five Towns College. You want to make some history? You know where to find me. You want to reimagine athletics? That would be, I think, something you should do. My opinion, you know what? More people want to talk. So I think people want to see me. You know that people want me to do a 24-hour stream. People want me to die on the stream. Famously, there was a senator, Alphonse D'Amato, who
we need like a toilet on the side, so this way you could still,
I should like on my deathbed. Well, there was, I think it was. I'm trying to think. Was it Al D'Amato who debated on the Senate floor for like 24 hours? He kept like reading notes. I mean, that's what people want me to do. People just want me to like be here for 24 hours. They just want me to die on the stream. But it would be a good way to go out. Thank you, John. My opinion on the 49ers. My opinion on the 49ers is that the 49ers probably are going to miss the playoffs. They got too many injuries. I think they lost too many games. They blew like 5 games this year where they had the lead late or in the fourth quarter, and they're probably going to wind up finishing 7-10 or 8-9. But they have every game's must win for them. But yeah, they've had a great run. I think the 4 championship games in the last 5 years caught up to them, and it's very hard also to get back to the playoffs and go deep after losing a Super Bowl, and especially the way that they did. And yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Believe me, I want the 49ers to do well because the Chiefs winning was not something I really wanted on my bingo card. But if you are here,
in history, right? A lot of the teams that lose the Super Bowl have a really hard time the next season.
Since the Buffalo Bills, the Bills. You look back in history, the Broncos are an exception. They lost to Seattle, but came back and won it the next year. It's very hard otherwise to come back and win a Super Bowl. It's very hard to go back and continue to be on the mountaintop. And they've done a great job, San Francisco. Four NFC title games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowls. It's been an amazing run. And, you got to give them a lot of credit. But, yeah, hit the sub button for me. I think I know who you are now. I definitely know who you are now. But thank you for tuning in, my friend. And shout out to the entire Five Town Sound men's soccer team. But you tell Coach he knows where to find me. But also, Sportswire Radio 6579. Yep, thank you, John. And, John, I'll see you next week. I'll put you in the Hall of Fame. We'll put the certificate up. I'll say a few words. And, I got nothing left in me. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. We were joined here at the beginning of the show with Randy Dillon, TBK, Anthony Steele, and then the New York MLB Talk host Chris Pizzaia and Rob Maraska. I'll be here 9 o'clock today with Texas Red of Texas Promo Wrestling. So that'll be an interesting show. I'm sure Anthony Steele will pop on again. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all sports matters and all wrestling matters. And maybe Five Towns and the Sportswire should do more collaborations. Coach Facina,